the first free market that's forming in the world. And it's exciting to see and even more exciting to be a part of. So don't miss it. Get your tickets at porcfest.com. That's pork with a C, as in porcupine, because they are the symbol of the Free State Project, because they embody peaceful creatures who just want to be left alone, and don't mess with them because you may get hurt. Now, I'm not suggesting that any Free Staters are violent or would resort to violence, but certainly free individuals have a right to self-defense, and one never knows when one will defend oneself against aggression. I certainly advocate for peaceful methods like using a video camera. That's what this woman did when she saw a man violently aggressing against her husband. Check this out, and I'll explain the video following its playing, but we've only got, oh, dang. Oh, the music just came in. You'll have to go to photographyisnotacrime.com and check out the video for yourself. A New Mexico cop was arrested after a woman took video of him attacking a repo man. Video, social media, and technology empowering humanity past the point where governments can control us. This has been Peace News Now. Check us out at peacenewsnow.com. See you Tuesday.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your get intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
Shiny badges on your jacket. Shiny badges start a conversation with your neighbor or your doctor or your family or your school. Now there's teachers and lawyers and business executives, and they all wear shiny badges and they all reject the state. Shiny badges on your jacket. Shiny badges show the world that you reject coercion and aggression and oppression by the state. ShinyBadges.com.
Lock it here for more live content. Free Talk Live is next on the Liberty Radio Network. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
VR. Good morning and welcome to Radio VR. We're broadcasting from Washington, D.C. and around the world on voiceofrussia.com/US. I'm Rick Young. Today is Friday, May 2nd, 2014.
Radio VR News.
Final figures from the healthcare sign-up period show 8 million have enrolled nationwide, and most states exceeding their goal. White House correspondent Mark Smith reports.
An AP rundown shows 31 states hit or topped targets set by the administration, many of them red states with governors hostile to the new law. Health Secretary Kathleen Sebelius credits a huge outreach program that ranged from social media to church groups.
We knew from the beginning that reaching the uninsured would require a unique approach, and we were determined not to run everything from Washington.
Still, sign-ups among Hispanics are lagging, and it's still not clear how many of the enrolled have actually paid premiums. A House GOP report says a third have not, but the White House says that's based on incomplete data. Mark Smith at the White House.
A Minnesota high school student is charged with planning an attack at his school and on his family. Tim McGuire has a story.
Police in Waseca, Minnesota, about 80 miles south of Minneapolis, say the 17-year-old was well along in his plans to attack the junior and senior high school in the city.
The types of items that he was preparing, he intended to do a great amount of harm.
Captain Chris Markison says the boy was arrested on attempted murder and explosive charges after a search of a storage unit and a home. The investigation began when someone went to police after finding 3 small explosive devices at a playground in late March. I'm Tim McGuire.
The Department of Homeland Security Department says it's arrested hundreds of suspected gang members in a month-long national crackdown. Jackie Quinn explains.
Sweeping across 179 cities over the last month, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents have rounded up more than 600 suspected gang members under Project Southbound. ICE says most are alleged to be part of the Sureños street gang known as Sur 13. More than 400 of those arrested had violent criminal histories, including 7 people wanted on murder charges. An ICE official says these are bad people with bad motives from bad organizations. Jackie Quinn, Washington.
A top lawmaker is disputing a claim that the military didn't do enough to help the Americans killed in Benghazi. Jerry Bodlander has the details.
House Armed Services Committee Chairman Howard Buck McKeon says General Robert Lovell didn't, quote, serve in a capacity that gave him reliable insight into operational options available to commanders the night of the attack. Lovell, who monitored the attack at Africa Command headquarters, told a House panel the military didn't do enough to stop it. McKeon has in the past said the military did all it could. He says an investigation by his committee found nothing to indicate the State Department delayed a decision to deploy the few resources it had in the region. Jerry Bodlander, Capitol Hill.
The government has released the names of 55 schools facing federal Title IX investigations for the way they handle sexual abuse allegations by their students. Ed Donahue explains.
Ohio State is on the list. So is Cal Berkeley and Arizona State, as well as Ivy League schools Harvard, Princeton, and Dartmouth. The government emphasized this is about investigations of complaints, not judgments. Title IX prohibits gender discrimination at schools that receive federal funds. Some students at Harvard complained of being subjected to a sexually hostile environment. The school says it has taken steps to foster prevention efforts and to support students who have experienced sexual misconduct. Ed Donahue, Washington.
New York has reached what could be a precedent-setting labor deal with public school teachers. Warren Levinson has the details.
After working without a contract since 2009, New York City school teachers have reached tentative agreement with the city on a new 9-year pact. The deal calls for 2% annual raises plus some money for the 5 years teachers went without a contract. Mayor Bill de Blasio says the city can afford it.
This agreement is entirely funded within the city's current budget framework.
Negotiation has been closely watched because it may set a pattern for others. More than 100 public employee unions have been working without contracts, in part because the last mayor, Michael Bloomberg, insisted the city could not afford retroactive raises. Warren Levinson, New York.
And that's the news. For Radio VR in Washington, I'm Rick Young.
This program is brought to you by FreeKeen.com. FreeKeen.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. FreeKeen.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. FreeKeen.com.
Pennington is reeling this hour from one of the biggest stories we've seen in decades.
That's right, Kathy. Mayor Sue Hallinan has stepped down following revelations of her involvement in a coupon forging scandal. After a week of fervent denials, Mayor Hallinan admitted that last Thursday she used 5 counterfeit coupons on a weekly shopping trip to the Kroger for a savings totaling $14.81.
Once you've made a fake coupon and you've had a taste of that power, it's hard to stop.
Mayor Hallinan also apologized for her first response to the controversy when she blamed Jared the paperboy for stealing her coupons and replacing them with the fakes.
I don't know what to say. She could have ruined my career. I hope she goes to jail forever.
And in what many are saying is the ultimate indignity, Mayor Hallinan's photo has been put up on the Kroger's so-called banishment wall in between such undesirables as the Fredericks boy and infamous gum thief, Mr. Ivins.
This is the Onion News Network.
Everything.
Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can give us a call and talk about whatever's on your mind. That's why we call it Free Talk Live. It's your show. Take control of the airwaves. 855-450-3733. It's Mark with you.
And Brian.
And Stephanie.
And we keep archives going back for many years at archives.freetalklive.com. Go there, enjoy them for free. freetalklive.com. Let's go to, the pizza guy. He's calling in on Skype. Pizza guy, what's on your mind?
Hey, it's not just the pizza guy. It's the pizza guy and his lovely wife.
Hello.
Lady. The cleaning lady. There you go. The cleaning lady. And she is, in fact, an honest-to-goodness native Japanese. So after you guys were talking about the culture and the language last week, I thought maybe we'd call in today and give you guys some information.
Oh, cool. That's nice to hear from you. So for anybody who didn't hear the show last Sunday, somebody called in while we were talking about the subject of like sort of peaceful parenting, and the person said something about we should look into Japanese discipline. And I Googled it, and let's
it's the internet after all.
Got some porn sites. But so what do you think the person meant by that? He didn't really explain what it was.
Japanese. So you're asking how Japanese parentage-ship differs from like parent.
Yeah, it sounded like
do they spank?
It sounded like he used a specific term, Japanese.
So yeah, with me and my wife, there was actually a lot of drama because her parents really disapproved of me. And after I graduated college, I went there to ask for my wife's hand in marriage. And there was a whole bunch of drama, and I forget exactly what happened, but we were like right in the middle of the train station. My wife was like 21 at the time. I mean, not a child. And her mother just reached out and slapped her right in the face. Like right in front of everybody. It just kind of blew me away.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well, but that kind of thing is more or less common over there. Like, other than that, though, I mean.
Other than the face slapping.
I actually heard, I had a Japanese coworker who told me that sometimes his boss would hit him. Like he worked in a scientific lab, and he said that his boss would hit him, and that wasn't like considered abuse. Like here, if a boss hit an employee, that's something really serious,
Yeah.
Is that true?
You're not allowed to look at her butt, let alone hit her.
It's a superior.
Sorry, what was that?
He's the boss in his superior position, so he can get away with some things.
He can get away with it. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The culture over there, hierarchy is important, and that's part of the culture. But one thing I wanted to kind of touch on, because you guys were talking about the language and how the language might kind of influence that. I think you might be putting the horse before the buggy. A lot of the times, the language, I mean, what you're doing when you use, there's separate types of verbs in the language. It's called keigo, when you're using kind of that politeness. And really, it's just a way to add more information. There is a sterile way to say things. So, like with the example of the scientist saying, how would I say I did this? And how would I say you did this? By using keigo in one way or another, it's not so much that you're denigrating yourself as much as the implication by denigrating yourself is that you were the one who did it. Because a lot of the time, the language is not like Spanish or German where you can just kind of one-for-one exchange of vocabulary. It's not like that. The concepts, if you take the language as a whole, the concepts are it's a completely different puzzle set. Whereas like the difference between Spanish and English and German is oftentimes it's the same puzzle pieces just with a different picture over it. The Japanese language is a completely different pie slicing, and so whole concepts are just ripped apart, and things like saying I did it, that doesn't make any sense, right? You would just say it was done. And by which verb you use, you kind of end up implying who did it. Because if I say it was done by somebody below everyone else, well, who would say that but myself, right?
Right.
It's implied.
It was done in a humble manner by somebody who's just officiously humble. Please don't look at this humble person in any way but humility. Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been to Japan quite a bit myself, and there's a big emphasis on body language. In fact, there's a word for it. I can't think of it. I think it begins with like an I, of course, not in Japanese, but it seems to be a big deal over there. Am I right about that, Pizza Guy?
Yes. There's a gesture for pregnancy or going for a drink, any other, whatever you can imagine.
What's the gesture for pregnancy?
You just go roundy with your two hands over your tummy.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And it's common to do that rather than saying it directly.
Right, right.
In Japan, kind of the motif is everything is indirect. Unless you want to be mean. And it's almost the opposite of in America. Like in America, when you want to be mean, you be indirect, and the rest of the time you're straight and honest with people all the time. In Japan, it's the other way around. You're indirect all the time, and that's considered politeness. The only time you're direct is when you want to be mean. So when you want to insult someone, you don't like insult their intelligence by saying some kind of a clever, witty statement. You just say to them, "Die." Right? Like, and that's a command. It just means die. Or you say shinabai, which means it would be best if you were dead.
Wow.
Very directly. And I think that's almost why they seem or why we seem rude to them is because everything we say is so direct.
Sure, we sound like we're cussing all the time.
Right, but yeah, for them it's like, well, why are you being so rude about it? Well, it's because we're saying things directly and clearly.
Well, surely they have to have classes for dealing with the barbarians, right? I mean, somebody must be educating them. Look, this is how they talk. They're just like this all the time.
Culture is an amazing thing. People often say that Japan is one of the most atheist nations in the world. After having lived there for a year and a half, I'd have to tell you that they're probably one of the most religious nations, or they're more religious than the United States. And I think that's saying a bit.
And what's that based on?
Yeah, and their religion is not some man in the sky. It's not some ancient, text. Their religion is the culture.
Yeah, Shinto.
Is the society, the collective. Well, Shinto is the name of their. Shinto is kind of like the Japanese version of paganism, and I don't know if referring to Shinto as their religion is really direct enough.
Okay.
What I would say is that it's just collectivism is their religion. Shinto, nobody there really believes it.
No, right.
Right. It's just a bunch of fairy tales. It's a lot.
Folklore.
Yeah, it's like folklore and things like that, and it's built into the culture. But as far as, I mean, I was a 22-year-old man dating a 21-year-old woman, and we had to get her parents' permission. And when she, in the dead of night, escaped on an airplane, to fly over to the United States and be with me, it was a big deal for her.
Yeah.
It would be like having to urinate on a Bible in order to marry somebody here. Like because it's just something you just don't do, and it's the only word I can use is it's blasphemy.
Yeah, it sounds like it takes a lot of courage. Do you still have
when you
contact?
say you had to get their parents' permission? I want to know what is the consequence if you did not?
For me?
Yeah, just what's it mean? So he said that he had to get your parents' permission, cleaning lady, and I don't know what he means when he says he had to get your parents' permission in order for you guys to date while he was over there.
Oh, I needed their permission to celebrate us on a wedding party or whole life, to have blessing from them.
So do you still have contact with your parents after getting married to Pizza Guy?
Yes, they forgive us.
Mm.
But if they are forgiven us for real and the greeting occasion, I'm sure they sent us money or something more.
I see.
It's always nice to get money from the parents.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for the call, guys.
That was interesting.
855-450-3733. Free Talk Live.
Hi, I'm Lynn, and I am totally blind. Like many who are totally blind, I have non-24, a circadian rhythm disorder that can put your sleep-wake cycle out of sync with the 24-hour day. But I found out there's a new treatment available for non-24. It's called Hetlios Tazimiltian, the first FDA-approved treatment for non-24.
The most common side effects of Hetlios include headache, elevated liver enzymes, nightmares or abnormal dreams, and upper respiratory or urinary tract infection. These may occur more often in patients 65 or older. It may cause drowsiness, so limit your activity to preparing for bed. Hetlios has not been studied, and it is not recommended for use in pregnant women, children, or people with severe liver problems. To learn more and to hear the full prescribing information, visit Hetlios.com or call 844-241-2424. That's 844-241-2424.
Hetlios is now available for non-24. Talk to your doctor today.
Sponsored by Vanda Pharmaceuticals.
Hi, this is Mark Edge, host of Free Talk Live. We've been witnessing a meltdown of the very economic engine that powers this country. With a printing press tethered to Washington politicians, bureaucrats, and central bankers, how can we put our trust in paper money? For years, I've been buying gold and silver from Midas Resources, and you should too. Come see gold.freetalklive.com or call 877-357-9938 for a free book titled 10 Reasons to Own Gold. With Washington, D.C. delivering more debt and printed promises, common sense tells us the future of the trend is obvious. Everyone listening should visit gold.freetalklive.com or call 877-357-9938. I trust Midas Resources for my gold, silver, platinum, and you can too. Again, I want you to have this book, and it's free. It's gold.freetalklive.com or 877-357-9938. 877-357-9938.
If you are like most people, chances are you're malnourished. Most people do not get the 90 essential nutrients the body needs to survive. This lack of nutrition can lead to all sorts of health issues. If you don't feel as good as you'd like, or if you're looking to get a jump start on a new, healthier you, Youngevity has your answer. With the Healthy Start Pack, you get all the nutrients your body needs. With all 90 essential nutrients and 115 fruits and vegetables, you get a supplement system that is antioxidant rich and beyond compare. The Healthy Start Pack includes products backed by 40 years of science and millions of dollars in research, like Beyond Tangy Tangerine, EFA Plus 90, and OsteoFX Plus. To order your Healthy Start Pack today, call 607-739-5595. Again, that number is 607-739-5595. Once you start taking the Healthy Start Pack, you will see and feel why our motto is 90 for life.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com. This is Mark of Free Talk Live. We've been witnessing a meltdown of the economic engine that powers our country. With a printing press tethered to Washington bureaucrats and New York central bankers, how can we trust paper money? For years, I've been buying gold and silver from Midas Resources, and you should too. Call 877-357-9938 for a free book titled 10 Reasons to Own Gold, or go to gold.freetalklive.com. Again, 877-357-9938. 877-357-9938.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, 855-450 free. That's 855-450-3733. The last 4 digits there spell the word free, as in Free Talk Live. You can call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark.
And Brian.
And Stephanie.
And, I want to tell you about ProXPN because, of course, you've heard, you can call in 855-450-3733, and that is the ProXPN toll-free call-in line. But what is ProXPN? And ProXPN, let me tell you, the way things are going on the internet right now, you have the Heartbleed bug, you have the OAuth and the OpenID vulnerability. Okay, there's so many things coming out seemingly every week now, of problems, on the internet, security flaws that the web has. You want
the internet's a dangerous place.
It is a dangerous place. You want to take proactive steps to secure your data, your digital life, which is just as important in this world as your meat space life. So I want you to check out ProXPN. ProXPN, it's a VPN service. Okay, now granted, it's not a cure-all for everything I listed off, but it's a good start. Okay, and ProXPN, it's a VPN service, which is a virtual private network, and this is global. You can use it anywhere, not just in the U.S., and it will encrypt all of your online communications. Anything that your computer or your smartphone or your tablet sends up to the interwebs, it's going to encrypt. It's really, you can't beat it. You can get it for the price, less than the price, really, I think, of a good cup of coffee every month. Okay, if you use the code FTL20, again, that's FTL20, you'll get 20% off the lifetime of the account that you go with. There's an annual plan, a monthly plan. You can use FTL20 for either of those. You can also get it with Bitcoin, but you can't use the code FTL20 for that. But you will get a greater discount, I believe, of 30%. And that's great. I mean, this is a company that's supporting Free Talk Live. They're supporting freedom. They're supporting Bitcoin. They're all over the place. They got their heads in the right place, and they want to protect your online identity.
It's one of the biggest VPN services in the world, right?
Yes, it is. It is growing exponentially, and that's because they are offering a great service, and one that's important that I think people recognize is necessary, especially since the hallowed Snowden revelations.
Yeah, it's easy. I have to say, as a person who isn't like a super tech person, it's easy to get on.
It is really easy.
All you do is just download something, and then you make a login, and then you connect, and you can surf and feel a little bit better because you'll be encrypting your stuff.
Yep, they have an app for Windows, Android, iOS, Mac. You can even use it on Linux. Really, any machine you've got.
On a phone. It works on.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, Android
phones.
and iOS works on phones.
Apps.
So it's fantastic. Really easy to use. ProXPN.
One thing it doesn't protect you from is really dumb quotes in the news. And here from the Raw story.
Can anything really protect you from that?
Not much. Sorry.
Yeah.
Alabama's Chief Justice said, Buddha didn't create us, so the First Amendment only protects Christians.
Wait, what?
I'm pretty sure Jesus didn't create us either.
Well,
I'm pretty sure the Founding Fathers weren't Christians, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, some of the Founding Fathers were Christians, some of them weren't.
Yeah.
So modern Christianity would claim that Jesus, the Trinitarian doctrine would claim that Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit are one and three at the same time. Very confusing. Obviously, it contradicts with some Unitarian beliefs.
Or Michael Servetus, sure.
I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah, he was a reformer, Protestant reformer way back.
So anyway, speaking at the Pastor for Life luncheon, which was sponsored by Pro-Life Mississippi, Chief Justice Roy Moore of the Alabama Supreme Court, Chief Justice, not that that matters too much.
That's not that high of a title.
No, it's only it gives you the ability to write the minority or majority opinion, depending on which you are in, if you are the or decide who does it. I mean,
it's not a lot of power.
It's not a lot of power. But it's interesting that he is the Chief Justice as opposed to just a justice. He declared the First Amendment only applies to Christians because Buddha didn't create us. Muhammad didn't create us. Now, these are prophets, by the way. It was the God of the Holy Scriptures who created us. Now, as I understand it, the God of the Quran is the same God as the God of the Bible, and that Muhammad was trying to get some stuff sort of cleared up about Jesus and that kind of thing.
Well, I'll tell you a couple of quick things. One is that supposedly in Turkey, they have a Bible that's about 1,500 to 2,000 years old that has some extra pages in it. That
Is
apparently,
this the Gospel of Barnabas?
Yes, you got it. Bingo. So you have that. But then also, here's an interesting factoid that a lot of people don't know is that if you go to, say, Afghanistan or Iraq or any of those Middle Eastern countries and you ask a Catholic, who do they pray to? They say Allah. Because that's just how you say the word God.
Just how you say
over
God.
there. That's all that is. So sure. When that's a lot of people don't know that is that if you talk to a Christian over there, they're gonna be saying thank you Allah, or they won't say thank you, but anyway.
Yeah. They didn't bring. I'll go on here. They didn't bring the Quran over on the pilgrim ship. You didn't know what the name of the pilgrim ship was? I mean, you're going to do this. You're going to do this speech at this luncheon. You don't get it. Whoa, Mayflower, right? Okay, let's get real. Let's go back and learn our history. Let's stop playing games, he says. So the Constitution has this Bill of Rights, freedom of religion, that kind of thing. And it seems to me that it doesn't really matter what the majority of the people who were around at the time that the Constitution was written. Really, when the First Amendment says something to the effect that Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So, I mean, what difference does it make at that point whether you're Hindu or Buddhist or whatever it is that you are, Muslim? What difference does it make?
There's only one true religion, so that couldn't be, as broad as that sounds, it had to be specific.
Well, the concerning thing is, this might be an opinion you may expect your average social conservative kind of Christian to hold.
Yeah, I've heard it 100 times on the radio.
However, this person is in a seat of enormous power where he's going to have to be dealing with lots of people who have different religious beliefs or perhaps no religious beliefs. And if this is his personal opinion, can we expect that not to leak into his job?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It seems pretty obvious it's going to leak into his job.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that somebody holds an opinion like this and it doesn't leak into their job. Isn't that kind of what it is about opinions? And as a Chief Justice, he's not bucking for another position. He's not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's not going to this luncheon and speaking to these people in a way that, say, a politician would. Maybe he's saying, like Barack Obama was talking about transparency in the government. I don't know if he was lying at the time, but he certainly didn't deliver on the promise. When he said shutting down Gitmo, I don't even think he was lying necessarily at the time, but he certainly didn't deliver on the promise. There's a list of them that politicians, presidents, and politicians in the past certainly don't deliver on. This guy, if he's trying to impress these people, he's only impressing them for his own sort of salacious reasons.
Or is this judicial activism? You know that phrase that got tossed around so much when so-called liberal judges were ruling in favor of gay marriage?
Yes.
Is this judicial this guy is probably the kind of judge that would have called those other judges judicial activists. So is he being one?
Well, it's pretty obvious. I mean, he's going to use his position. I guess that's what being a Supreme Court justice is judicial activism, right? I mean, that's like the definition of it. We just call it activism when we disagree with it.
Right.
855-450-FREE. Does this disturb you? Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733.
Mother's Day is right around the corner. If you haven't ordered Mother's Day flowers yet, visit proflowers.com for an amazing deal. Get 100 gorgeous blooms for mom with a free glass vase for $19.99. Her flowers are guaranteed to stay fresh and beautiful for at least one full week. The only way to get this incredible deal is to go to proflowers.com/radio right now and enter the code PLOW, P-L-O-W. That's proflowers.com/radio and enter code PLOW, P-L-O-W.
We love that you're passionate about GCN. And whether you're a listener, a business owner, or a radio industry professional, we've redesigned the new GCN newsletter to keep you in the know. Text GCN Live to 22828 or click on the banner at GCNlive.com. Enter by May 15th. You'll qualify to win a 6-month supply of storable food from MyPatriotSupply.com. Start receiving your newsletter today. The future of talk radio. GCN.
Free Press Publications is an independent alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary at fpp.cc, as well as weekly news in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com. the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc, and books at shop.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Imagine for a moment a radio program, the most personal of mediums, that reaches hundreds of thousands of people on more than 140 radio stations across the U.S. and around the world through the internet with podcasts and live streams. Imagine the advertising is affordable from $600 to $6,000 a month. Free Talk Live is that program. We will work with you to get clicks, calls, views, or sales. Email me at mark@freetalklive.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
Free Talk Live, 855 450 free. That's 855 450 3733. It's Mark with you.
And Brian.
And Stephanie.
855 450 free. You could call in and talk about whatever you want to talk about here on the live Sunday edition of Free Talk Live. That's how we run the show. We also drink BuzzBox coffee here at Free Talk Live. BuzzBox coffee is delicious.
I do love good coffee.
Yep.
You know, it reminds me, I was just thinking of Ellen DeGeneres today, and she has that famous quote where she said, "Sex with men is like coffee. I don't drink coffee." I was just thinking, those of us who do drink coffee.
Wait a minute.
Those of us who do drink coffee here on Free Talk Live, drink BuzzBox coffee.
Yeah. It's shade grown, 100% organic, top 1% grade Arabica. And, you know, that's really important, that organic certification when it comes to coffee, because coffee is a really absorbent product. So you don't know what the kind of pesticides are that they use in third world countries, depending on, you know, where your coffee comes from. You just have no clue. Leaded fuel, in all likelihood.
Yeah, I was going to say that's serious.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know the specifics of how, you know, when lead lands in the ground, and, you know, leaded fuel, it does get in the air, lands in the ground next to these coffee plants, and they're growing in leaded ground. I have no clue whether or not that gets up into the bean, but it doesn't make me feel real comfortable.
No, right. It happens to chocolate. I imagine it would happen to coffee.
So BuzzBox, another thing that they do, now they're competitively priced with other high-end coffees, but another thing that they do is they care about the people that grow their coffee. They allow producers to, join their these people in third world countries to join their coffee co-op, and that helps them to feed their families. Also, folks like Free Talk Live, we can partner with BuzzBox in order to offer microloans to people around the world. This is why we do it, so that we can change lives. For every 10 listeners that sign up at coffee.freetalklive.com, you get your first pound free just to try it out. There's no reason not to try it out. But the first 10 for every 10 people that sign up, we can give one microloan to a family around the world to make their life better, whether it's for a bicycle, for a delivery service, or a sewing machine, or a variety of things that they might get a loan for. But we're changing lives and offering people in poverty an opportunity to change their own life by giving them a hand up instead of a handout. So get started now. Get your free pound at coffee.freetalklive.com. You pay the shipping, and you can cancel your subscription at any time. It's coffee.freetalklive.com. Alabama's Supreme Court Justice says, Buddha didn't create us and Muhammad didn't create us. It was the God of the Holy Scripture who created us. So we have to stop pretending like the First Amendment applies to these folks, I guess. He declared that the First Amendment only applies to Christians. And then he noted that he loves talking to lawyers because he's a lawyer who went to a secular school.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. So he knows that in the law, talking about God just isn't politically correct.
You know what? He may have gone to a secular school because there's an old saying in Christianity that the best way to make an atheist is to send your kid to a Christian college.
Is that so?
Yeah, because like where they actually teach, like what the actual Greek and the Hebrew and Aramaic and all that stuff, what it actually means, it easily ruins one's faith.
Sounds like a variation
Scripture.
on the easiest way to become an atheist is to like read the Bible.
Yeah, it's something like that. But anyway, that's a common thing is to send someone to. I mean, maybe Liberty. What's that one in Texas? Liberty University.
Liberty University isn't in Texas. I think it's in like
Alabama.
Yeah, I'm gonna look. I think it's in
Somewhere
Tennessee
in
or
the
Kentucky. I don't know.
Anyway, when I was a Christian, I was told that going to a Christian college is one of the most dangerous things you could do.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I didn't hear that.
They actually told you that.
Yeah.
It does make one wonder. I had not heard that before, but I wasn't going to go to a Christian college either. So
Right on.
What can I tell you? I'm looking at Liberty University's website, and they certainly don't declare right on the front page where exactly one goes. But anyway, you can look for yourself. LibertyOnlineDegrees.com. Oh, I got the online version. That's probably why. They don't want to tell
That's
you that
everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Just like Christ.
Yeah. Going on. He noted that he loves talking to lawyers because he's a lawyer and he went to a secular school. He knows that in the law, talking about God isn't politically correct. He claimed that this is why America has lost its way, and that he would be publishing a pamphlet this week, maybe next, that contained copies of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, thereby proving that all the people who founded this nation, black, white, all people, all religions, all faiths, knew that America was about God. So there you go. America's about God, and all the people of all the faiths that founded the nation knew that.
Well, that just proves it. I mean, the case closed, right?
Is it the God of, is it like that statue off of New York City, Liberty Island there? What is it? The goddess Libertas. Is that the God? Or
I think that, I think when you talk about different doctrines, because they portray God differently, different sort of arms of even the Christian church portray God differently. So, I mean, if you're painting different pictures, aren't you talking about different gods? I mean, since these aren't the same person, you know what I mean?
Well, like what's that picture painted in the Capitol building of the Ascension of George Washington? Where, I mean, that's a painting of a god, right?
It certainly looks like George Washington is taking his place among the Greek and Roman gods. It's bizarre stuff, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's ridiculous because, I mean, in Washington, D.C., there's a plurality of faiths represented. Other than church buildings, there's no sign of Jesus there. But, I mean, like you'd think with all these statues of gods and goddesses, there'd be one of Jesus around, but there isn't. But, yeah, no, this is insane.
So he blames the direction of the country on abortion, and he later says that the pursuit of happiness meant following God's law, because you can't be happy unless you follow God's law, and if you follow God's law, you can't be anything but happy. So there you go. Happiness is following God's law. It's all about, which I'm not sure what that is. I think, as I understand, God's law is, the primary law is to love God, and the secondary one is to love your neighbor as yourself. You love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And if that's the case, then we'd solve a lot of problems there.
Well, it says that's the summation of the law. That I don't know that negates all the others.
I see. Okay. Well, didn't Peter, when the animals flew away on the blanket there, an axe, didn't he kind of get rid of? This is what I've been told in my Christian upbringing, is that the law of the Old Testament was fulfilled in Christ, meaning that it's done and completed. So therefore,
wouldn't that make you a preterist?
I think preterists have the closest, the closest thing to Christianity out there, from what I can tell. But most people aren't preterists, and they don't believe. But what I'm saying is that the law itself, the Old Testament, all this stuff about no tattoos, no rounding of your head, no, whatever it is,
sex,
all that stuff that's all wrapped up in shellfish, wearing fabrics of different types together, mixing your goats with your pigs or whatever. I have no idea. All that stuff is all just sort of taken care of, and it doesn't matter anymore. And that the only thing that really matters are these, these other laws that have to do with sort of love. And I like that. I don't see much of it in the church, but I like it.
Yeah, I think that's a misconception, because with what happened is that the law was fulfilled when Christ was put on the cross. Okay, that not one tittle, all this business. There's a verse that talks about it.
Fulfilled, right?
Okay, right. And so now we're living in as what Paul calls the new covenant.
All right.
As compared to the old covenant, which is what the Jews were following. Okay. So, but what's the new covenant? And this is, again, you got to let the Bible explain itself if you're going to believe in it. Okay. And so you look in the Bible, where else does it mention new covenant? Shouldn't that have been prophesied before? And it was in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 33. It says, the new covenant, my law will be written on people's hearts. So what he was saying is that the people will just live the law pretty much, on their own, that it wouldn't go away, just it'd be a part of them. And then this is reflected in Revelations chapter 9 too, where the mark of God and the mark of the beast, because it mentions both of those, and the mark of God is the law. So Christians by their following of the law, that it's in their heart. So I think it's a misconception. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to go on that.
If God wrote it on your heart, then who am I to question it? 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live.
All right, hold on. We got to interrupt the regularly scheduled stuff for just a minute. I've got to tell you about this because it's weird. It'll make sense. What if I told you that eating this one weird spice could actually help you reverse diabetes? I know, it's crazy, right? Well, if you or somebody you care about has diabetes or pre-diabetes or metabolic syndrome, you've got to check out this video. It's free. You may have heard about this. People who've tried it say that they've been able to normalize their blood sugar, stop taking their diabetes meds, and their doctors are all for it. So what is it? What's behind this? Well, the company says it's a natural drug-free approach to reversing diabetes, and they say that it works in as little as 4 weeks, and it all starts with this one weird kitchen spice you probably have in your kitchen right now. So you should check out the free video and see for yourself. It's at WeirdSpice55.com. So write that down. It's WeirdSpice55.com. WeirdSpice55.com.
Good people need help. The Homeowners Association said we had weeds and fined us $25. We told them they had the wrong house. They said if we didn't pay it, they'd file a lien. Our attorney demanded photographs, witnesses, and told them if they couldn't provide this, they must cease and desist. Issue solved. Worry less and live more with lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com or call 855-340-SAVE. That's 855-340-7283.
Results will vary from case to case.
I'm David Cordeni, President and CEO of Cigna. We're proud to support the March of Dimes by walking in the March for Babies. It feels great to know that the money we raise funds life-saving research and programs that improve the health of babies. With your help, we can make this year better than ever. Join Cigna and our coworkers across the country in March for Babies to help more moms have full-term pregnancies and healthier babies. Start your team today at marchforbabies.org and march to help our babies. Thank you.
Copblock.org/pivothead. To ensure that a record of the truth of police interactions exists and is accessible, we each need to fill. That's why we're happy to announce the Accountability Through Transparency video contest, the winner of which will receive a pair of Pivot Head sunglasses. For more information and to submit your video entry, go to copblock.org/pivothead. 1. Document with a camera a police employee exhibiting double standards or the standards we expect them to live up to. This can be done while on foot, during a vehicle stop, while submitting an open records request, etc. 2. Upload your video to your YouTube channel. 3. Fill out the form at copblock.org/pivothead by the deadline of midnight Eastern Standard Time, May 23rd, 2014. 4. The winner, chosen by contest sponsors, will be notified by email, and the Pivot Head sunglasses will be shipped once a mailing address is received. copblock.org/pivothead.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com. When I found the Free State Project, I knew it was the key to achieving liberty in my lifetime. It's awesome to be surrounded by like-minded, freedom-loving activists who've moved here to New Hampshire. From politics to civil disobedience, we have it all. Where I came from, it felt that no matter what I did, liberty was dying. Perhaps you feel the same way? Call 888-377-2515 now to learn more about the Free State Project. That's 888-377-2515 or visit freestateproject.org.
You can interact with other LRN listeners in our message board at forum.lrn.fm. That's forum.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. It's Mark with you.
And Brian.
And Stephanie.
Give us a call. Take control of the airwaves here on the live Sunday edition of Free Talk Live. 855-450-3733. So, Stephanie, apparently they busted some senior citizens.
Yeah, this is a horrible story. So this actually happened quite, in the city that Brian and I live in. We don't live in Keene. We live a little bit up north. But, and there's this, a reporter who's been kind of reporting on it with the local newspaper. And now I think this just goes to show that no matter where you are, like really, if you're in the U.S. or probably other places too, but no matter who you are and where you are, like you're not beyond the reach of these bureaucrats who are just trying to get your money and get your obedience. I was rather shocked by this, but anyway, here, let's read the story. So it starts out on February 5th. He's writing about it first. On the eve of this year's Super Bowl, 7 out-of-towners dropped by the American Legion Post 22 in Lebanon, New Hampshire. But they didn't come in for a nightcap. They worked for the state agency charged with enforcing New Hampshire's liquor laws. The 7 agents, packing sidearms and a search warrant, confiscated $15,320 in cash from the Post 22 safe that the Liquor Commission claims were proceeds from illegal gambling.
So they just came in and broke open the safe?
So all the money,
kind of like common criminals, yeah.
All the money that happens to be in the safe of this place.
Yep, we'll take that. Thanks.
Remember, these places, they sell alcohol and food and that kind of thing.
Yeah, they collect donations, right? I mean, all kinds of things.
All the money must have been from gambling. All right.
Well, that was the thing. Legion officials say the state is mistaken. For years, well, when people are mistaken and they have guns, it's kind of a bigger deal than when they're just mistaken. But they say the state is mistaken. For years, Post 22 has been holding Super Bowl raffles to raise money for worthy causes. A good chunk of the confiscated money was going to, among other things, buy food baskets for struggling families and into a fund that provides college scholarships for veterans' kids. The club, quote, doesn't keep a penny, said Treasurer Pete St. Pierre. All the money is dispersed to raffle winners and to the charities the club supports.
The amazing thing about this is that this is the organization, the American Legion is the organization that supports the state. I mean, they're the state's cheering glee club.
Yeah.
They're the ones that have all these flag preservation.
They got American in the name.
Yeah, and I think that there are a lot of people out there who believe that if you are a good old American veteran, you've served your country, you've paid your dues, now you're a senior citizen, and all you want to do is on the Super Bowl have a little bit of a game to raise money for charity and make a little fun
What's
evening out of
more
it.
American than football, right?
Exactly. But no, they got raided. And actually, this wasn't the first time that happened to them. 4 years ago on Super Bowl Sunday, the State Liquor Enforcement Bureau pulled the same stunt. After the raid, Post 22 officials made several trips to Concord, which is the state capital, to explain how their Super Bowl raffles worked. It took 4 months for the state to grasp that the veterans, many of them senior citizens, weren't running a gambling operation and return the confiscated money, about $12,000 in 2010, to the club. Just to be on the safe side, Post 22 officers met with state liquor enforcement officials in 2010 to go over the rules. It was explained to us that what we were doing was within reason, said the treasurer. Nothing has changed in 4 years, club officials told me, the reporter. Prior to last Sunday's game, Post 22 sold, quote, squares for several raffles. Rows and columns of a 10x10 grid were assigned a number 0 to 9 at random and tied to the potential score of the game. And everyone who bought a square, prices ranged from $5 to $100 depending on the game, had an equal chance of winning. There's no skill involved. It's all luck. Sort of like playing the vast assortment of lottery games that the state offers and profits from.
I love how the state just hates games of chance
Yeah.
unless they run them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, it stinks of corruption.
This is nothing but a bunch of armed, stinking bureaucrats going around and protecting their organization's monopoly. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's obvious when they go after these senior citizen veterans who are voting or rooting for a football game. It's so glaringly obvious that you have to be the most dim-witted of patriotic fools to support the government in this, but somebody listening is. If not, I'm just wrong. But 855-450 free, I would love to hear why you think it is okay for the state of New Hampshire, an organization that runs a game of chance, to
quite a few of them,
to raid the American Legion, an organization of
and take the money from their charity fundraiser. And it's not like they had $600,000 in their safe. It was $15,000.
Right?
Come on, this is
$15,000.
Okay,
yeah.
This is a bunch of young people going to get hookers and blow, right? I mean,
I think they would probably have a heart attack if they tried to do that.
What are you saying? How old were these people?
They're senior citizens.
What do you mean? They're going and raiding a senior citizen? See, this is the thing.
They might as well be raiding the nursing home. I mean, I'm not trying to insult the people who go to the American
I'm not
Legion,
insulting them either. I'm actually saying that the absolute lack of respect for senior citizens that the state is showing here is positively disgusting.
Yeah,
that is the joke I am bringing.
Aren't they supposed to be the ones who are receiving the protection from the state? You know, they're older, they're vulnerable, they've spent a lot of time serving their country. Now they're supposed to be getting the rewards back from society. They're supposed to be getting protection and support and money from Social Security.
This is an obvious money grab. Where are you going to grab the money from? From the people who have it. Senior citizens have had longer to collect it, so go after them.
Yeah, I suppose. But now that story that I just read in this segment was from February 5th, but there's actually an update to the story. And it gets worse, actually, if you could believe it. Now they're thinking now the Liquor Commission could get as much as $200,000 out of this American Legion post. The journalist who's writing about this, Jim Kenyon, says, "You might recall that back in February, I wrote that 7 agents from the Liquor Commission's Enforcement Bureau, acting on what they said was an anonymous tip." Oh, those anonymous tips, crushing your rights since however long they've been around, raided the Legion's Mechanic Street Clubhouse on the eve of Super Bowl, whatever it was, the most recent Super Bowl. The agents left with 15...
I don't think you can say Super Bowl without us giving credit to the Super Bowl people.
Uh-oh, I've violated their copyright or
That's
something.
Right. I think we're supposed to say
big
the
game.
Big game.
Yeah,
okay.
Big game.
Well, Jim Kenyon said it in his article, so I'm just.
Is that what happened? Is that what happened? Did the charity? Did they call it the Super Bowl charity?
No.
And then the NFL called the New Hampshire.
Maybe they were the anonymous tip. I don't know. Maybe
they
it was
said,
someone
"No,
who
you got to
worked
go
for the
get that
state.
money from them." Is that the legal background here?
The agents left with $15,320 in cash from Post 22's safe that the Liquor Commission claimed were proceeds from illegal gambling.
I love the idea that they can take this money that's in the safe, claim all of its from proceeds from gambling.
Yeah,
which it's obvious it's not.
No,
I mean they're selling drinks right there out in front of God and everybody, and barbecue and whatever, and They just claim it all is, and you're going to have to prove what is and what isn't proceeds from gambling.
Yeah, they didn't even have a chance to defend themselves. But I told you it gets worse. Listen to this. This American Legion Post received a letter. Okay, so they didn't hear anything from the Liquor Commission for about 3 months. But then a couple days ago, just recently, a letter arrived at the clubhouse. That's how Post 22 learned it had been the subject of a secret grand jury proceeding last month. The letter went on to say that a grand jury had indicted the club on 2 felony counts of allegedly running an illegal gambling operation in connection with the big game pool.
You know, I don't have much faith in juries, and I have so little faith in grand juries. Grand juries,
especially secret ones,
were intended.
This is like a star tribunal for the veterans.
If it would be a star tribunal if it didn't have regular citizens that were involved in it.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea behind a jury was we're going to have regular folks hold the government accountable, but it doesn't happen at all. And it's sadly disgusting the way the average person's just like, oh, yep, the prosecutor and the cop said it's the way it is. So it's the way it is, and we'll just go with it.
You know, and I'm actually surprised about that because who gets put on a grand jury, okay? It's going to be retirees, people who have time on their hands. New Hampshire is stereotypically an older demographically state. There are lots of senior citizens in New Hampshire. You would think that maybe one of them
they'd move to Florida.
knows.
Go ahead.
You would think that maybe one of them knows somebody who goes to the American Legion. I mean, it's in the same county, you know, or they've participated in this charity fundraiser. It's been going on year after year or something like that.
Might have been an inside job.
Maybe it was, but I mean, this is just, I can't believe this story.
I'm stunned by it.
Yeah, the whole thing's ridiculous. Unbelievable.
855 450 free. Tell me why gambling of any sort should be illegal. Why? 855 450 free. Free Talk Live. There's a treasure hunt going on at mathgate.info, a Bitcoin treasure hunt. You can find Bitcoins by proving theorems. So, learn some logic, do some math, find some Bitcoins. Even better, mathgate.info is designed to be used anonymously. So, connect to mathgate.info through Tor, prove some theorems, find some anonymous Bitcoins. Don't wait, others are already searching for the Bitcoins. Go to mathgate.info today and join the treasure hunt. There are anonymous Bitcoins to be had for the taking at mathgate.info.
I've had the hardest time finding someone who loves me for me, not my money.
I just want to find the perfect match.
Finding the right car insurance company can be daunting, especially if you've been burned in the past. Visit geico.com to find the policy destined for you. One devoted to saving you money, making your life easier, treating you like a princess or a vegan warlock, whatever you're into. Your perfect car insurance company is out there. Geico. 15 minutes could save you hundreds on car insurance.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Nesquik. Try Nesquik 4-packs, perfect for lunches and great for kids on the go. Look for it in the juice aisle. Snack time is a great chance to sneak extra calcium into your child's diet without making him feel like he's eating something he doesn't want. Serve up dairy-rich foods like smoothies, flavored milk, frozen yogurt, and string cheese. He'll love the treat, and you'll love knowing how good it is for him. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are 1. Share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love. But make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Sunday, May 4th, 2014. Silver is trading at $19.51 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,300 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $433. The CBC reports at least 42 people were killed in a street battle between supporters and opponents of Russia in southern Ukraine that ended with dozens of pro-Russian protesters incinerated in a burning building, bringing the country closer to war. Pro-Russian rebels in the east freed 7 European military observers on Saturday after holding them hostage for 8 days, while Kiev pressed on with its biggest military operation so far to reclaim the rebel-held territory in the area. The riot in the Black Sea port of Odessa, ending in a deadly blaze in the besieged trade union building, was by far the worst incident in Ukraine since a February uprising that ended with a pro-Russian president fleeing the country. A couple hundred pro-Russian protesters in the eastern city of Donetsk stormed the governor's business premises and state security headquarters, ransacking files and smashing windows. The attack reflected growing disorder in the area, targeting, as it did, a security building that had already been brought under rebel control. The Odessa clashes spread the violence from the eastern separatist heartland to an area far from the Russian frontier, raising the prospect of the unrest sweeping more broadly across the entire country. Russia said the government in Kiev and its western backers were responsible for the deaths. The Odessa bloodshed came on the same day that Kiev launched its biggest push yet to reassert its control over separatist areas in the east, hundreds of kilometers away, where armed pro-Russian rebels have proclaimed a People's Republic of Donetsk. The rebels there aim to hold a referendum on May 11th on secession from Ukraine, similar to one staged in March in Crimea. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They now take Bitcoin for purchasing precious metals so you can turn your profits into a long-term investment. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing. 800-874-9760. Australian ABC reports a panel advising Pope Francis says Roman Catholic bishops should be held accountable if they fail to report suspected sexual abuse or fail to protect children from pedophile priests. After holding its first meeting, the new Vatican Advisory Board says current church laws are out of date and that it will develop clear and effective rules to deal with the problems. In a first for the church, the board, made up of 4 men and 4 women, includes a woman who was abused by a priest when she was a child. Board member Cardinal Sean O'Malley says a person's rank in the church should not be cause for special treatment or protection, saying, "Our concern is to make sure that there are clear and effective protocols to deal with superiors in the church who have not fulfilled their obligations to protect children." You've heard of ShinyBadges.com, but you need to check out the New Causes tab. Every item in that section includes a donation to a worthy liberty project like Hoodie the Homeless. So go to ShinyBadges.com, click on the New Causes tab, and get yourself a quality product that not only supports the cause you believe in, but starts a conversation with your neighbors. Plus, get a free gift when you pay with Bitcoin at ShinyBadges.com. Ballot Access News reports, on May 1st, Young Americans for Liberty sued various officials at the University of Georgia in Athens over the campus restrictions on First Amendment activity on campus. University rules say free speech activity, including petitioning, must be confined to 2 tiny areas on campus that include only 1/10% of the square area of the campus. Other areas of the campus may be used, but only if students request a permit at least 48 hours in advance. Even in the 2 small free expression areas, permission must be obtained. The case is Young Americans for Liberty at the University of Georgia v. Moorhead. This case is similar to one filed in Hawaii 1 week earlier. In that case, 2 students claimed their First Amendment right to free speech was infringed upon during a January event where school officials at the University of Hawaii stopped them as they passed out copies of the Constitution. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
You're putting your name, address, credit card number, social security number, all that. You're just chucking it right up onto the internet where any disgusting degenerate can grab it. The only way to make sure that your identity is never stolen is to change it every 3 years. That's what I do. 2 years ago, I was Ellen Foxcroft, attorney at law. 3 years before that, I was Trish Homingwood, patient at the Austin State Psychiatric Hospital. And 3 years before that, I was Regina Dupree, lead singer of the soul group Derriere. And you know what? None of my identities has ever been stolen. So to make sure that your personal information stays safe, you gotta follow some simple steps. First, you're gonna need new pieces of identification, right? But don't worry, old Shelby knows a guy up in Detroit, can fix these up pronto, real cheap. Next, you're gonna have to fake your own death. But all that takes is a mold of your teeth, a corpse, and a $500 used car for setting on fire.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733. You can call in and talk about whatever is on your mind. It's the live Sunday edition of Free Talk Live with Mark.
And Brian.
And Stephanie.
You can see the live Sunday edition if you go to cam.freetalklive.com. There, we've got, I don't know, a cam set up that you can see what's going on in the studio and chat with other listeners in the chat room, which is beneath it. It's cam.freetalklive.com. And it is well worth a quick view. So, Stephanie, we've been talking about this the situation with the
There's
raid.
an American Legion post in a city in New Hampshire that has been raided by the State Liquor Commission because they were holding a charitable fundraiser that had to do with a game of chance based on the Super Bowl or the big game.
Yeah. And we'll get back to that in just 1 second, but I want to go to the Skype line, and you can Skype us. Our username is lrn.fm. You'll have to add us as a contact first. That way we can communicate with you about what it is that you want to talk about, that kind of thing. But it's relatively easy, and we can do it right during the show. So just send a contact request to lrn.fm. That's the username on Skype. Let's go to Abel. Abel, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mark. Stephanie.
Hello.
Hey, what's on your mind?
And the whole grand jury situation is something that some decades ago, I don't even know, it may be a century or more ago, that it was polluted. It was, there was no change in law or constitution or referendum. It was just slowly captured by attorneys. The actual grand jury should run itself. It is the highest power.
So it shouldn't be run by a prosecutor at all?
No, a prosecutor brings presentments to it.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And the fact is that the source of those presentments cannot be just that prosecutor, or should not be, and that's what has occurred. And the grand juries typically have engaged in their own investigations, or regular members of the public have taken their own
grievances to the grand jury. I know that that's something you're supposed to be able to do, but they're protected at this point where you can never get a chance to go see them.
And in this particular case with this grand jury and this liquor commission thing, somebody within the grand jury can actually say, well, wait a minute here. Let us ask the people involved. I mean, they can actually, subpoena the people running the club there.
They're gonna go to their members of the Legion or Legionnaires, I guess, who are going to go represent themselves in court, but they've already been indicted secretly by the grand jury.
Well,
they didn't
just
know.
It is that the grand jury didn't really know that it could say, hey, wait a minute, can we,
they could have subpoenaed them before the indictment. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
No, the grand jury is completely empowered to do its business.
Yeah, I don't think many people know about that. Really,
that is a actual jury information thing that I think ought to be something we do in addition to the petit juries. For nullification. Nullification is way past where a lot of prosecutions ought to have ever gone. And if it's a felony, it has to be indicted by a grand jury. And if grand juries were, had a little bit of a, cojones about themselves, this crap wouldn't be happening. And you know what? They would also be indicting police officers and obvious criminals that are members of the bureaucratic core.
It's true, but I think that basically we don't know, as citizens or whatever it is we are, as people that have this power of the grand jury, we don't know it. We aren't aware of it. And even now, it's so far gone that if you tried to enact it, you probably would fail as a member of the grand jury.
That's what I think. If you tried to do something like that, they'd throw you off and put
it makes it worse because as far as what I understand of grand juries, I mean, even getting like access to transcripts from grand juries is nearly impossible.
I mean,
it's a pain.
Well, the grand juries are supposed to be, within their realm, supposed to be a secret panel. So, but they're given that they're supposed to have pretty extreme powers to actually figure out whether they should be indicting somebody.
I understand, but this is sort of the flaw of the system. I don't disagree with anything you're saying, Abel. I'm just claiming that this is sort of a flaw in the system.
Well, no, it's not a flaw in the system. It's a flaw in the people that have been allowed to run it.
But let me make my point here. When a person goes to when you go to a new place, you go to a new big box store, call it Walmart in another town, and you have to use the bathroom. There can be sometimes a giant flashing neon light on the wall that says restrooms, but you're still like asking somebody, "Hey, where's the restroom?" Because you're new someplace, you don't have your bearings around you. So when you get put on a grand jury for 6 months, and I think that's usually the amount of time, you're not comfortable. You want somebody to sort of tell you what to do, where to go, where to sit, what to do while you're there. And the prosecutor is the perfect person to do that because he looks like the authority figure in the room. He's been to many grand juries, and if he hasn't been to them, at the very least he's been told about how to do them. In most cases, they have been to many of them. So he really is the expert in the room. People, their human nature has them looking for the expert. We're always looking for that expert. Oh, you know what to do? Great. What do you want us to do? And that is what I'm calling the flaw in the system.
Right. It's the system. It's not the grand jury because this grand. If this was an honest, county attorney, he would probably have some kind of this is the powers of the jury that you're joining, and it isn't me.
Well, even if they told people that, I think they'd still defer to the prosecutor in most circumstances.
Well, that's why there's got to be a captain. The chairman, gets elected and by the body, and that's the way it's supposed to work. This
is why I hate the idea, though, Abel, of unqualified people supposedly running the justice system. The idea of the jury,
and being conscripted to do it.
Well,
there's another issue with it.
In a good world, the government school system would probably have a whole 2-year class on getting the jury system up to
the government's
snuff.
All about centralizing power, and the government school system is doing what it's supposed to do, which is to allow them to further centralize power. The government school system is doing what it's supposed to do.
Well,
we can all talk about how it should be,
and we know that's been going on, and yet there's this what you're talking about as being the problem is because the people are so far away from actually having any understanding of the actual power structures that were set up at the beginning.
I think that's kind of blaming the victims. I don't know. I mean, it's the politicians.
Well, no, I mean, it's just that they don't have it. Nobody's giving it to them. The parents don't know.
Then the system is broken, Abel. I mean, we can talk about how it should be, but it's broken.
But it's a very fundamental reality.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate it, Abel. 855-450-FREE. Is it salvageable? Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733.
Everybody wants to know, what can you buy with Bitcoins? Isn't there like a Bitcoin general store or something? Well, yes, now there is, and it's at bitcoingeneralstore.com. BitBrew and the Bees Brothers have teamed up to create a place where U.S. customers in the lower 48 can shop for, well, anything, with free shipping. What can you find at bitcoingeneralstore.com? Bitcoin apparel, stickers, gifts, precious metals, physical Bitcoins, coffee and honey, of course, and electronics and computer accessories. The folks at Bitcoin General Store are true Bitcoin believers who don't even use third-party payment processors. They get their inventory direct with Bitcoin and pass on the savings to you. Shop at bitcoingeneralstore.com with confidence that you are supporting a real Bitcoin economy. You gotta see what they have to offer. Visit bitcoingeneralstore.com today. That's bitcoingeneralstore.com.
Gold isn't for you? Ted Anderson, president of Midas Resources, one of the world's premier gold and precious metal investing firms. I get it. You wouldn't buy gold if you believed that the government is doing a great job, that the Fed will stop handing out trillions of dollars like bailout candy, that Social Security would be there for you. That's not what's happening. You might even pass on gold if the stimulus package wouldn't fuel inflation, or that the dollar wouldn't lose value, or that your retirement would be secure. If all looks rosy to you, then now is not the time to buy gold. For the realist, there have never been more sobering reasons to diversify with gold. Since 2001, the U.S. dollar index has tanked 30% while gold has risen 300%. Right now, savvy investors are adding gold to their portfolios. You should too. Find out what they know. Call us and I'll send you 10 reasons why gold will do very well, free. 800-686-2237. 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
After logging onto the Xbox One game console at one of his classmates' homes, 12-year-old Michael Cutler admitted to reporters this week that he really does not have the slightest clue about what his friend's name could be.
I mean, his name might be Brian. No, wait, Brian's my other friend, the one with the PS4. Yeah, if I'm being totally honest, there's no way I can tell you his name. Not a chance.
Noting that the boy had, quote, an absolutely huge HD TV and a bunch of games his mom won't let him play, Cutler confirmed that he could recall only the faintest details about his friend, including the fact that his mother makes chocolate chip cookies and that he has a dog of some kind.
He's got Killer Instinct, Assassin's Creed, Battlefield 4, and Titanfall? Man, that game's awesome. Anyway, I've just been calling him Flamethrower because that's his gamer tag. Hopefully he doesn't catch on. Hey, can I stick around for a few more hours? I'm so close to beating this.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
If you want to move to the Free State and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the realtor Mark Warden. Do you want a home with 20 acres, a lakeside cabin, any takers for renters, buyers, and sellers too? Mark Warden is the guy for you. PorcupineRealEstate.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can call in, talk about whatever is on your mind. Here on the live Sunday edition of Free Talk Live, it's Mark with you.
And Brian.
And Stephanie.
855-450-3733. We are all here in New Hampshire because of the Free State Project.
Yes, indeed.
The Free State Project is a project to move 20,000 liberty-loving individuals to the state of New Hampshire to see what happens. That is all it's about. You sign a pledge that says that you will move to the state of New Hampshire once 20,000 other liberty-loving individuals sign up. Now, we are early movers. We decided, move afterwards? Why do that? Well, we'll move now.
That's right.
But you needn't do that. That's not what the pledge is. The pledge is to move after we reach the number 20,000. And really all you're doing is stating your intent that you will move. And obviously, life changes. You could die. We're not going to dig up your corpse and drag you here if once we reach the 20,000 number. But we're getting pretty close to that number. I think we're somewhere between 75 and 80% of the way. If you've thought about the Free State Project, signing up, you should come to the Porcupine Freedom Festival. It's a camping event outdoors in the White Mountains of New Hampshire where there's lots of speakers, karaoke, parties, dances, vendors, tons of family events. You can go to PorcFest, that's P-O-R-C, as in Porcupine Freedom Festival, porcfest.com, and get your campsite. Now, at this point, the RV sites are all that's left. You don't need an RV to be on an RV site. You can put a camp. You can put a tent there, but it's it fills up. So porcfest.com.
It's pretty easy to shack up with somebody there too, from what I understand.
It's true. You can show up with a tent and just kind of find some place to be.
It's anarchy, baby.
It's like that. Throw a few bucks at somebody.
They still believe in property rights, though.
Indeed, they do.
Property kind of anarchist.
So there you go, porcfest.com to check it out. Brian, there was an incident this week. Apparently, a convicted killer in Oklahoma, guy convicted of a very brutal crime, was injected with some sort of off-brand generic killing juice, and it caused him to convulse and have a heart attack rather than dying in sort of the way that he was supposed to.
Wow.
So he, it wasn't great.
Sure. And so what's happening now is, and this is from RT, Oklahoma judges reverse execution decision after political pressure.
So there are two guys that were slated to die.
I'm pretty sure you can't reverse that.
There are two guys that were slated to die in the relatively close amount of time.
Oh, so they reversed it for the one that hadn't been got yet?
That's one of the problems I have with the death penalty is the reversing of something. What we find is that over time we find out that innocent people are convicted not only of regular crimes, but surprise, surprise, of murder too. And some innocent people end up on death row, and some of the innocent people that end up on death row end up killed.
Yeah, there's actually a statistic that was released this week that 4% of the people on death row are innocent.
And that's a pretty conservative number. I've heard numbers as high as 15% of people in prison are in for crimes that they didn't commit.
Yeah.
And that's unacceptable.
It's interesting. I mean, we can read more on the story, but it's interesting that you bring that up because the judge, the Chief Justice that we were talking about earlier in the show, as nutty, I think, as his opinion was about the First Amendment, he was, we didn't get to it in the story, but he did mention that we've gone away from Blackstone's law, and like his works. And I think Blackstone's formula is, to me, it's the absolute centerpiece of common law. It's the centerpiece of the Western world. It's the centerpiece of America in that better, that 10 guilty people go free than one innocent suffer.
Agreed.
And that apparently is gone.
Right. People just don't believe that, especially people who believe in the death penalty. This is sadly the paradox of believing the death penalty.
Sure.
If you believe in the death penalty, you believe that people that commit murder should be executed. And if in a democracy we are the government, and if we, the government, make the decisions, then you, an individual with an opinion, are making decisions. That's the idea, right? And if your decision is that we should have a death penalty, then you, a person who thinks, a reasoning individual, knows that humans make mistakes, and that if mistakes are made, then obviously somebody's going to be put to death innocently. An innocent person's going to be put to death. So therefore, you, as a person who participates in a democracy and has the opinion the death penalty should exist, are a murderer and should be put to death. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, and if you support the death penalty, why does it matter how painfully or not somebody dies? I think there are some...
Many people are cheering this death. They're like, yeah! Oh, baby!
Oh, that disturbs me. I think that's kind of bloodthirsty. But I mean, just if you support the death penalty, it shouldn't matter. Like, there shouldn't be a big uproar that this death was not done well or cleanly or whatever.
Right.
And of course, like, doctors can't participate in, what's it called? Lethal injections and stuff like that because it violates their Hippocratic oath. You can't really be a physician and do that. All they can do is kind of certify and say, yep, he's dead.
Yeah, the Hippocratic Oath is do no harm.
Yeah, so you have these untrained people who, in a lot of cases, can't even find the vein. Like, if you look into it, it's kind of gruesome how much they stab people in the arms to try to figure out what they...
Well, phlebotomists take more blood than doctors do, so I don't know about finding veins. I don't know how many
phlebotomists may not be able to do it either. Oftentimes, it's like people who just have a very basic level of... As I understand it, it's people at the most basic level of medical training, and there, even with expert phlebotomists, sometimes some people just have difficult veins. It's hard to get, and they have to get a lot of fluid into these veins. I mean, they're giving them 3 different drugs, right? If I remember right, it's been a while since I researched it. There's a anesthetic first, and then there's a paralytic that paralyzes them, and then there's
that way they can't flip all around when they and freak out when they're given this drug.
Yeah, and then
why don't they just give an overdose of morphine?
Why don't they just hang him?
Well, frankly, a hanging done well is much more humane than these things like the electric chair and these drugs.
But if we care about being humane, then why are we supporting killing people?
Right.
Well, I guess this gets all confusing for me. It's difficult for me to feel bad about a guilty person being executed. I admittedly come from the right. For me, what my philosophy is that, look, you're going to necessarily execute innocent people. You don't know. You weren't there. You can't say.
And the state makes mistakes all the time.
Well, everybody makes
mistakes.
The state is people, and people make mistakes. So to support the death penalty is really only to slake bloodlust. How do you think you'd feel if such and such?
Well, that's what they always say.
How would you feel if an innocent person was executed for the killing of your relative?
How would you
feel if you were the innocent person that was being executed? Because what I'm talking about here is innocent people. And everybody who advocates for the death penalty advocates for executing innocent people. That is necessarily what it is. Or there's the other option. The option is that, and it's only sort of, it's the fact is some people have admitted to crimes that they did not do. Mm-hmm. So you still can't be 100% sure you're killing the right person. But if you just execute people who admit to it, then you're disincentivizing people from admitting to crimes. And I want people to admit to crimes. Is life in prison so great in this country, the country of the most incarcerations in the world? Is it so wonderful that we can't just do this instead of execution? 855-450-3733.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-905-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. Say goodbye to the cable guy and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. Sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV. Say goodbye to the cable guy. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
My name is Angel Rach. I'm a mother of 2 teenage children, and I fought all the way to the Supreme Court for the right to use the medicine that saved my life. I've been permanently disabled for 10 years, with an inoperable brain tumor, wasting syndrome, and several other serious conditions. For 4 years, I was in a wheelchair, in so much pain I couldn't even hug my kids. The hardest part was looking in their eyes and seeing how much they were suffering because of my medical condition. The medicine that gave me my life back and gave my kids their mom back was cannabis, also known as medical marijuana. With medical marijuana, I can walk, maintain my weight, and I can be a mom. Without it, my doctors believe that I would die. To learn more about medical marijuana, contact Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or on the web at mpp.org.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-3733 here on the live Sunday edition of Free Talk Live with Mark.
And Brian.
And Stephanie.
Blockchain.com. At blockchain.com, you can go get a merchant app for free to be able to accept bitcoins. So if you've got a physical business, look, this is for bricks and mortar kind of businesses. So you can put this on a smartphone or a tablet to accept bitcoins safely, securely, and for free. There are no terms of service or ID requirements of any kind. Now, this is a service of blockchain.info, which is the largest Bitcoin site out there, I think.
Yeah.
From what I can tell, that they've got 1.5 million accounts, I should say, and it's just a great site. If you're into Bitcoin, that's the place to go. But blockchain.com is where you get the app from the Google Play Store. Get started. There's no fees, no terms of service, no ID requirements. Just download it and begin accepting Bitcoins in your business. Blockchain.com. So, we were talking about this situation in Oklahoma. Apparently, the justices have stayed the execution now.
Yeah, there's a bit of a reverse. Lawmakers in the state of Oklahoma have launched a campaign to oust state judges who suspended the executions of 2 prisoners. So They suspended it, but now the people are mad about the suspension.
All right. So
wow.
They suspended the execution. People are mad about the suspension of the execution.
Yeah, they're
So
trying to get rid of the state judges that suspended the execution of the 2 prisoners.
even though they had this, I thought it was one prisoner that is dead now. And anyway,
Yeah.
So they had one terrible execution go awry, and obviously they can't do that anymore. So I mean, that seems like the obvious legal thing to do. Well, we'll continue on with it here in just a second. Let's go to Ryan calling in from Georgia, listening on LRN.FM. Ryan, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Oh, I just wanted to chime in about the death penalty debate, and I just think that the state has no business in putting people to death. And I'm kind of like exploring more about crime and punishment and what the state's role should be, or what role would would individuals have, like even in like a free society. But I think nobody has the moral authority, especially the state, to put somebody to death for crime.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's interesting. This whole the idea of the state not having well, the fact is most of the westernized world doesn't have the death penalty. When you're talking about sort of first world nations, which hopefully the United States is one. Actually, the United States is second world because it was went from the old world to the new world, but nobody uses that terminology anymore. So let's call it first world. Of the first world nations, the United States is the only one that still has the death penalty, and it's not like there's not a mix of ethnicities in other nations. That certainly is the case. It makes you wonder why the United States and why do we have it? It's obvious that you could function without it.
Yeah, I don't know why we have it. I don't know. We have kind of a culture here that kind of cheers on some violent things. I mean, whether it's war or whether killing people overseas.
Yeah,
people
that's
get,
for sure.
It's kind of like gladiator time sometimes. But,
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. That American culture, a lot of times it seems to really, or it doesn't seem to take issue with violence unless it's somehow expedient for them. But I mean, you take sex, and boy, that's the worst thing
deal.
ever. But violence, yeah, we'll let that go.
Yeah, I mean, even in the movies, Ryan, thank you for the call. Even in the movies, they just violence isn't that big of a deal. It's interesting when you have a little boy, you begin to see cartoons and movies in a different fashion than you would see them otherwise. And there's a lot of punching, hitting to solve problems going on TV. And it's a convenient way to visually show conflict. I get that. And I don't have a problem with it from the storytelling standpoint, but it also teaches young people, it's hard, it would be hard to argue that it doesn't teach young people in some way that this is a viable way to solve problems.
Well, absolutely, because at the end of it, when the violence is all said and done, the hero gets the hero's welcome. And I'm a huge comic book fan. I'm a fan of a lot of these different forms of entertainment that all do this, but this is what they do, is that, okay, punch the guy out or, fire the gun or whatever. And then at the end of the day, you go home and you get to, maybe this is a point where they do kind of celebrate sex. You get to get it on or something like that. Whatever it may be, Tony Stark gets to go home to a bit of an orgy. I mean, this is what gets shown, to not just kids, but adults as well.
Hard to argue it. Let's go to Pat calling in from Montana. Pat, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Oh, I was just wondering if the family of the victim have the right to put somebody to death.
So there's an interesting case that went on in Iran. There was a woman who some dude threw acid in her face because she turned down his overtures for marrying him or whatever the deal was, and she had every opportunity to get paid. She could, she could ask for a cash payment. She could ask for him to be incarcerated. But what she asked for was, within Sharia law, was to have acid dropped in his eyes, and so that he would be blinded in the same way she did. It's such a moving story that I kind of wonder, but at some point or another, you just kind of, man, I mean, is this a good idea? Is it a good idea? What do you think?
Well, look at that guy in, was it Oklahoma, that they botched his execution?
Yep.
didn't he shoot and rape and bury alive a girl?
That's what we're told, but we don't know. Were you weren't there, were you?
Well, if that was my sister, I would want him dead.
Yes, I understand.
What the law says.
I get what you. If it was your sister, you'd want it dead because somebody told you. Somebody in a badge told you that that's what he did. But we don't know because, in all likelihood, there probably aren't witnesses to the crime. I don't know the specifics of this particular one, but in a lot of cases, we take people's word for it, even when there are witnesses. Firsthand witnesses are notoriously incorrect. So it's difficult to know who did what.
Yeah, I understand that, but if the guy is guilty, I think if they're that cruel of a person to do that to another person, maybe they deserve to die.
It's hard to feel bad for somebody who does something like this. Then again, he did it 15 years ago or however long it's been. So the justice, if the justice in the vengeance kind of dries up after a certain period of time. Don't you think that somebody's a completely different person many years later? I mean, did you make some mistakes in your youth? Are you the same person you were 15 years ago?
Oh, no, I'm a lot smarter, I would like to think.
Right. This guy isn't the same person he was whenever he committed the crime either. Maybe he's a worse person. It's hard to feel bad for him. I get where you're coming from.
Stuff doesn't just go away with enough time either. But, I mean, I question whether killing somebody really, completes the healing process for some victims. I mean, and it also victimizes everybody else who has to pay for it and who has to kind of participate in that whole system, right?
Yeah. What about that? What about the financial implications of it, Pat? I mean, it costs about 10 times as much to execute somebody as it does to keep them in prison for life, and that's because of the mandatory appeals for the death penalty and for the added security that goes on in keeping them on death row rather than letting them have jobs and work inside the prison or whatever it is that they do and live like a regular prisoner. Do you think it's worth that 10 times the cost to execute somebody?
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, who should bear that? I don't feel like I should. If it wasn't my family that was killed, why should I be victimized by the state in order to keep these people in whatever level of care that the state wants to keep them in? Pat, I guess thanks for the call. I couldn't quite hear you there. Thanks so much. 855, 450 free. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. I used to be pro-death penalty.
I have an interesting thought experiment when we get back.
855-450-3733. Free Talk Live.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to begin? Do you fear your job is in jeopardy, or is your business income reduction keeping you awake at night? We're in the best time in 25 years to make a fortune in real estate without using your money or credit. My name is Ron LeGrand, and I've taught 500,000 people to do just that and personally bought hundreds of houses myself. If you'll call 800-970-6156, 24 hours, and leave your information, I'll send you the first 500 callers my hot new CD, Foreclosure Fortunes, and my best-selling book to help you get started absolutely free. I'll show you how to build a six-figure income part-time with no previous experience and no license, even if you're a busy professional. Call 800-970-6156, 24 hours, and get my new book and CD free. That's 800-970-6156. Take your life back and make this your best year ever. Call 800-970-6156 now.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com.
Hey everyone, pharmacist Ben Fuchs here. Join me and the world-renowned Dr. Joel Wallach for a free health lecture this Friday, May 9th, 6:30 p.m. at Woodlands Auditorium in Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Come meet me at 3 p.m. during the Natural Health Expo before the evening lecture. Visit youwillfeelbetter.com or call Pete Greenway at 501-538-3160 for information and registration.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadati.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733. You can call in, talk about whatever is on your mind. The live Sunday edition of Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733. It's Mark with you.
And Ryan.
And Stephanie.
Also, you can contact us on Skype. Our username is lrn.fm. You'll have to send a contact request ahead of time. That way we can communicate with you by typing and find out what it is that you want to talk about. It just makes it a lot easier for us. But we can do that right here on the air. It won't take long at all. So our username is LRN, as in Liberty Radio Network, .fm on Skype. Let's go to the phones and to the fun. It is Jim or Whit. I'm not sure which one we're going by today. Whit, you're on Free Talk Live.
Well, it's my given name, and I prefer you to call me that.
Why do you change it on me? It's so hard for me to switch once I've decided somebody's name is what it is, and then it's going to change on you.
I've already answered that because I don't feel that you, for instance, just last time I talked to you and Ian, he, after he dumped my call, said he was probably anti-gay. He referring to me. Now, people that say that kind of stuff on the public airwaves, and somebody like Mark, who sits right next to somebody that says that on the public airwaves about me, is not my friend by definition.
You know what we said? You know what we said when we got off the air?
I called in to volunteer for Brian's thought experiment. But if you want me to answer that at length, I will. But
how
I know
would you answer the question?
You don't really.
How would you answer the question? Do you know what we said when we got off the air? At length.
I don't care what you said off the air unless you're going to say it and then let me respond to it. You're going to say you're sorry for calling him calling me anti-gay.
I have no idea. I don't even remember him saying that, frankly.
But what I grew up in New Hampshire, did summer for vacation, and have him say that to my face. Because anything I say in the public airwaves, I would say to anybody to their face, just like what I said about Stephanie, I would say to Brian's face. But I'm calling in to volunteer for Brian's thought experiment.
Not to mine.
But I should like to mention, by the way, I'll say it to your face too, Stephanie, if you like. I might come to New Hampshire, even though I know I haven't been publicly invited on the airwaves, to come to the Liberty Lovers Festival. They'll call it a pork roast by the time I'm done there. But
is that a?
Are you threatening us?
What does that statement mean? Could you flesh that out for me?
Stephanie, I never threaten anybody. I never threaten anybody. I speak truly and carry a big stick when amongst people that I don't think are good or evildoers. For instance, I love God and I hate evildoers. And I love God. I do justice, and I pray for. And I also believe that cruelty to the guilt. Cruelty to the victims, or mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the victims. That's from the Bible, Stephanie. I know that you think that people become atheists from reading the Bible. Then why is it the best-selling book in human history more read than anything you'll ever write? But I digress. Again,
why do you keep listening to the show? I mean, I'm just curious. You seem to disagree with a lot and hate all of us, so why?
I don't hate you. I don't like you. I don't hate you. I love you as God commanded me. I don't like you.
Please don't.
I think you're disgusting. I think it's
wow.
so
Oh, you think I'm disgusting, but you love me. You know, I'm pretty much done.
Law. They're not activists. They're creationists. They're not so-called liberal. They are liberal. Stephanie.
So, Whit.
You're Ivy educated and you don't know that?
Here's what I want to know, Whit.
I volunteer for Brian's thought experiment.
Well, yeah, but we've had a lot of conversation up to then, and we're not going to go on until I get my question answered. And my question is, when you said it's going to be a pork roast by the time I'm done, what did you mean?
That Ian will be the butt of all the jokes by my fellow libertarians. If I can always respond to his slander. Again, what did you say off the air? You know, that's not cool of saying that Whit is anti-gay. He said nothing of the sort. So where do you get off calling him that? Is that what you said to him off the air, Mark?
No, what I said to him when we got off the air is I thought that was a pretty good call. And he said, yeah, he had a good one last night, too. Because
I don't want to be waxed. I want to hear you say, you know, that's not cool to slander people on the public airways after you've hung up on them. That's how two people that are decent and civilized don't hang up on people when they're quoting them. I was quoting Brian last week, literally.
You call in so often. You've had so much airtime. You practically have your own show here on Free Talk Live. It's like the Whit Hour.
Right. You never say that to people that you never interrupt on and let speak for multiple segments. You never say that to them, and many of those callers are boring. To be completely honest with you.
Well, when
you know it too.
When you refer to what's happened in the past, Whit, that's what I'm referring to as boring.
Should be heard more often on your show. I'm that dissenting view. I'm volunteering for it. I never hear dissenting views on your show. Everybody's always calling in to agree with you. You're not the kind of libertarian I am.
That's because most of the things we say are reasonable, Whit.
All right. Jim. Let's do the thought experiment. How about that?
I don't think he's listening.
Use the word reasonable and logical all the time. That's why I called you progressives. Progressives use those stupid words. Therefore, everything you say is right and everything I say is wrong. I never use the words reasonable and logical because that's called a sleight of hand when you're talking about logic itself. We're not.
Wow. Do you want to do the thought experiment, Jim?
Please don't come to New Hampshire. I don't want to be near you.
Jim, do you want to do the thought experiment?
Don't come near me. I'll send you a mugshot of me. Stephanie, don't come near me. I think you're a disgusting woman. You're a religious bigot, too.
Mugshot?
By the way. Yeah, that's a joke. I have a sense of
I don't
humor,
really
by
care
the way.
if you think I'm disgusting, Whit.
By the way, what was that supposed to mean? Jim Bob. What a funny-sounding name. What is that supposed to mean, Ivy-educated Stephanie? Is that obviously a prejudice against Southern men? Huh?
You know, for someone who's following a religion of love, brother, you've got a lot of anger issues going on.
Have you ever read the Old Testament, Brian?
Yes, I'm a Jew. What do you think? Have you been listening to the show? I explained what the new covenant was. I was quoting the Bible chapter and verse, man. Yes, I've read it.
The Old Testament. I'm not talking about the new covenant. I'm talking about the Old Testament.
I'm a Jew. Do you understand? I'm Kohanim.
Don't jump in the mud with pigs, okay?
Yeah.
But I mean, this is ridiculous.
Don't wrestle with swine. Go ahead and
thought experiment. I called into.
Yeah, let's do it. I just offered 3 times. Let's do it.
What a funny
funny-sounding name, by the way, Stephanie, quoting you.
I don't think she said Jim Bob, dude. I think you were just yickety-yakking the whole time. And
You
misheard her.
called in as Jim Bob a couple weeks ago.
Jim Bob called in on Easter to take you up on that challenge about don't hear any Christians calling defending Easter while we're making fun of it.
Wait,
I called in as
if
Jim
you
Bob.
don't, if you don't shut up and listen to Brian's thought experiment, because I got 2 minutes here. If you want to hear the thought experiment, then you're going to need to zip it.
I made my point. Go ahead.
Okay. Like I said, I'm ethnically Jewish, okay? There is a scientist, a very famous scientist in World War II who killed, possibly had disgusting sexual relations with my ancestors' relations, whatever. And this person was brought over to the United States, given a position of respect, a position of some degree of power, being a scientist, whose science that he developed while he was in the United States has potentially, and I think it's pretty fair to say, has saved the lives of millions of people around the world.
What's this guy's name?
Werner von Braun. Okay. But he committed absolute atrocities working with the SS in the Nazi Party. Should he have been killed when he saved millions of lives because he wasn't?
Am I to answer anything other than yes, he should be executed for committing war crimes against humanity? Just as I told your call screener that I'd like to say to Mark, Joseph Mengele survived World War II by 15 years and was living a happy, domesticated, normal life in Argentina before he was captured by a couple of Jewish guys who wanted to kill him on the spot, but didn't when they put that bag over his head and ended up taking him back to Israel, and he was finally executed. The good that a mass murderer does after he commits mass murder doesn't mitigate the fact that he should be executed. And because I don't know the future, and by the way, I don't believe 15% of the people sitting on death row in the state of Arizona are innocent.
I didn't make that claim.
I do know that there was an innocent man that wasn't executed in Arizona and was on death row for 19 years. Operative words was that he was not executed, and he did get an appeal. Everybody kind of suspected that things were wrong with his case, and thank God he wasn't executed. But
happens though. I mean, there are things that are wrong with some of these cases where they do get executed, though.
By the way, can I ask you, Mark, a question? Do you believe O.J. Simpson, now that he's been found not guilty of slitting two people's throats that he did slit, does that mean he's innocent?
I'm sorry. Did he? What's the question? Ask the question again.
Know that O.J. didn't kill those two poor people. Are you going to tell me that you don't know that? Because
I really don't know what happened. I suspect.
Saying, he really buried her alive and raped her. Well, yeah, they do. It's no question. And by the way, this just go back to the old-fashioned ways of executing.
I think there's always a question. You believe the media? They create a narrative. And that's what they do. That's what our job is in the media, is to create a narrative. So when you believe those folks, you're choosing to believe their narrative.
Okay.
Isn't it true?
Okay, right. I'm a victim of a narrative.
All right,
like
man.
The Japanese were a victim of Stockholm Syndrome. Where'd you make...
855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live.
Ross Ulbricht was arrested by the FBI in 2013 and charged with victimless crimes in relation to allegedly operating the Bitcoin-based Silk Road black market. He has been in a prison cell awaiting trial ever since. If he did it, he's a hero for making the black market a safer place. If he did not, he's a man wrongfully accused. Either way, if you love freedom and want to end the war on drugs, Ross and his family need your support. You can learn more and help fund his defense at freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
There's a treasure hunt going on at mathgate.info, a Bitcoin treasure hunt. You can find Bitcoins by proving theorems. So, learn some logic, do some math, find some Bitcoins. Even better, mathgate.info is designed to be used anonymously. So, connect to mathgate.info through Tor, prove some theorems, find some anonymous Bitcoins. Don't wait, others are already searching for the Bitcoins. Go to mathgate.info today and join the treasure hunt. There are anonymous Bitcoins to be had for the taking at mathgate.info. Are you looking for camping, hunting, survival, or shooting gear? ManVentureOutpost.com carries the name brands you want at the lowest prices. Ammunition, knives, firearm accessories, archery, air guns, scopes, binoculars, laser sights, tactical flashlights, fish finders, and boating equipment. ManVentureOutpost.com is family-owned and has the lowest prices. Go check it for yourself. Get it quick. Get it from ManVentureOutpost.com.
Now buy firearms at manventureoutpost.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates, online at thelibertybeat.com. I'm Brian Hagan with your Liberty Beat for Friday, May 2nd, 2014. Gold opened today at $1,279, silver opened at $19.04, and Bitcoin is trading at $447.50. Support for Liberty Beat comes from Affordable Sound, CD and DVD duplication for all your print and audio duplication needs. Online, affordablesound.com, or call them up, 512-459-5253. And support comes from Voice and Exit, maximizing human flourishing through radical innovation. Tickets on sale now. Get 10% off with promo code FREEDOM. June 21st at Austin Music Hall. Get yours, voiceandexit.com. In the news, a one-stop shop to hold police accountable for their misconduct is launched, with accountableauthority.com now online.
When you go to court, your best friend is not the judge, it's not your defense attorney, it's the jury. If you had access, you'd be able to show the jury, hey, this officer is a serial liar. We know that he's been lying to juries over and over again. We know that he's filed false police reports. He's been caught several times.
That's Accountable Authority founder Daniel Berman, who says the once missing access to police misconduct is what's being compiled through the public's help at the website.
You can actually post that information for free to a public database where basically if you are caught and you're charged illegally by an officer, you can actually find out if this officer has other false reports that he's filed.
Berman encourages all members of the public to document any interaction with police, video record anytime contact is made, and to post and upload any instances of abuse at accountableauthority.com. The battle for clean water continues as another Texas city joins the fight. Beaumont, Texas is debating whether or not to remove fluoride from the water supply. The city's water utilities director believes the substance is corroding water pipes. Councilman Michael Gatt said he's heard from constituents regarding fluoride concerns. But Councilman Dr. Alan Coleman said he believes fluoride to be safe and reliable and will provide data backing such claims from the Texas Dental Association. Support for Liberty Beat comes from Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Incorporated, specializing in precious metals since 1977. They don't feed the banks by taking credit cards, but you can bet they take Bitcoin. Online, rrbi.co. or by phone, 800-874-9760. Support also comes from Central Texas Gunworks, home of one of the first Bitcoin ATMs in the country, where you can buy and sell Bitcoin. Visit the ATM, 321 West Bend White Boulevard, number 203. And support comes from Cabo Bob's, non-GMO chips, homemade tortillas, and no high-fructose corn syrup in anything. Online, cabobobs.com. This is the Liberty Beat for Friday, May 2nd, 2014. Check out the website at thelibertybeat.com. Your Liberty Beat news for this Friday now continues. A unit of Mexican Army soldiers patrolling the Arizona border has possibly gone rogue, attacking American citizens and challenging U.S. federal agents. A report obtained through a FOIA request shows that members of the Mexican Army have crossed into the U.S. at least 300 times over the past 18 years. President of the Border Patrol's Union in the Tucson sector calls encounters with the Mexican Army nerve-wracking and says they often occur during the night. The DHS has been ordered to produce answers into the Mexican Army incursion by early February. On Wednesday, whistleblower Edward Snowden told a group of supporters that the U.S. government routinely conducts surveillance on its own citizens, more than it does the citizens of other countries. Snowden criticized the NSA, saying the agency takes a contradictory position when it comes to protecting U.S. data and exploiting security flaws to gather intelligence on foreign threats. Snowden has been nominated this year for the Nobel Peace Prize. On Thursday, demonstrations and protests around the world marked May Day, also known as International Workers' Day. Originally a pagan springtime festival, the holiday has become secularized over the years to focus on workers' rights. Rallies took place in Russia's Red Square, with a reported 2 million people attending. In Turkey, police used tear gas canisters and a water cannon to disrupt banned protests. In Cambodia, 1,000 factory workers and supporters are said to have violated a ban on demonstrations to call for higher wages and an end to corruption. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from The Corey Moore Show, live Friday nights, 9 o'clock Central Time at thecoreymoreshow.com. This is the Liberty Beat for Friday, May 2nd, 2014. Remember, check out the website at thelibertybeat.com. I'm Brian Hagan reporting, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Officials for the Centers for Disease Contraction and Preservation held a press conference urging all Americans to suck on as many doorknobs as possible.
This flu season, the Center for Disease Contraction is recommending that all Americans, regardless of age or health condition, find a doorknob in a high-traffic area, wrap their mouths around it, and vigorously lick and suck it until they contract an illness. We recommend sucking doorknobs covered in a visible film of human hand grease. But the fact is, sucking on any doorknob can increase the likelihood of exposing yourself and your family to deadly pathogens by as much as 450%.
An instructional video released on the CDC's website showcases the proper method for sucking doorknobs while also providing tips for projecting all sneezes and coughs outward, sharing used Kleenexes and toilet paper with as many people as possible, eating 3 meals a day from local garbage cans, and dozens of other easy bacteria-spreading activities.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can call in and talk about whatever is on your mind on the live Sunday edition of Free Talk Live with Mark.
And Brian.
And Stephanie.
855-450-3733. You can do your online shopping at Amazon and other major retailers at shop.freetalklive.com. When you do your shopping there, it helps us by giving us a little spiff. So you get the same prices, the same service you normally do. It's shop.freetalklive.com. Brian, we were discussing the incident out in Oklahoma where apparently some executions were stayed because of this catastrophic situation with the lethal injection.
Yeah, I'll rehash a little bit of the story here from RT. Lawmakers in the state of Oklahoma have launched a campaign to oust state judges who suspended the executions of 2 prisoners, ruling for the first time that they had the right to know what was in the drug cocktail that would be used to kill them.
Okay.
The Oklahoma Supreme Court issued a stay of execution Monday for Clayton Lockett and Charles Warner, 2 convicted killers. In a 5-4 decision, the justices challenged the constitutionality of Oklahoma's policy that permits state authorities to keep the ingredients of the drug used to carry out lethal injections secret. A day after Oklahoma's Republican Governor May Fallon criticized the court, the justices dissolved their own ruling, pulling back its assertion that death row inmates have the right to know what will kill them.
So what happened here? The legislature scared the Supreme Court into changing their ruling?
Yeah, that's exact. Yeah, this is really strange.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, this isn't what I was taught in civics class.
Yeah, this is the checks and balances, right? The judicial is supposed to say, no, this is what it all means.
Yeah.
Look, I understand that all these disgusting politicians, and I can consider they're basically all lawyers. All these lawyers collude with each other, but I'm really surprised at that.
I thought there was some protocol for this that was established by some, I don't know, maybe the U.S. Supreme Court or something like this.
Well, they're still not entirely sure of the reasoning. I mean, there's some speculation here, but this is the best thing that they're coming up with. Because 2 days later, they changed their mind.
You really kind of got to know what you're doing, but it sounds like they're just bumbling through it. Like they don't really know.
Let's go to Brett in North Carolina. Brett, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Thanks. I heard you guys talking about Werner von Braun.
Yes.
The jury's still out on this guy as far as his contributions to the world. You mentioned a lot of things, but you forgot to mention that he invented the intercontinental ballistic missile.
Yes.
And, of course, he played no part in the invention of the atomic weapon. However, he did perfect its delivery system.
Yes. Well,
so the jury's still
but
out
so
on
far
that
it hasn't
guy
been delivered
as far
by
as
one
who
of them.
he's held.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point.
There's an awful lot of them laying around.
Yeah, Brett, make no mistake. I think the guy's slime. I'm not a
really
fan.
Smart slime.
Yeah, but it was that's why it was just a thought experiment. But you raise a great point, of course, is that but did he potentially kill millions of people even after the fact as much as he could have helped?
And there's also this theory that ideas come around because it's their time for them to come around.
Sure.
That if Werner von Braun hadn't come up with whatever it was that saved people, then somebody else would have come up with it anyway. And it's impossible to say.
Well,
right?
Potentially. This is one of the things, and I don't like to admit to this stuff because it's disgusting.
Sure.
Okay, but I think it's pretty safe to say that medical knowledge leapt probably a good couple centuries because Nazis had no concern for human life. And they did tests that killed people, and they didn't care. And so they found out so much because of that. And von Braun would have really have benefited himself, not everybody else, but I mean himself would have benefited from those really atrocious experiments. So
well, he signed a lot of the papers there at Peenemünde where they had their big underground laboratory,
right.
And they built most of the V2 rockets there at that site, and He signed the orders. He was in charge. There's no doubt about it. Was he a pawn or whatever that people can debate that. But for the things that he did and for the things he was in charge of, he deserved to hang at Nuremberg with the rest of them. I don't care about, look, there were a whole lot of scientists that came from those places who did a whole lot less that could have came here and got us where we are today. I really don't think you had to have that one particular person. And the only thing I've ever heard positive about that guy was when the first V2 was launched and effectively hit its target. He actually said, it was a great thing. It worked perfectly. It just landed on the wrong planet. He wanted to go to the moon. From the time he was a boy till the day he died, that was his thing. He never went into it to harm people, but in the process, he utilized slave labor and just, there was a lot of horrific things that happened. So, for all intents and purposes, sure, he meant well, but you have to take the totality of what happened, and he should have hung at Nuremberg with the rest of them, bottom line.
Brett, I think I agree with you. I don't think the ends justify the means.
No, they never do.
I think it's interesting to look at. It's interesting to play the little games. And I think, Brian, you've got an interesting guy here with the von Braun fella. But I never believe that the ends justify the means.
Yeah, I don't either. And certainly I don't think anybody here is a fan of von Braun. I'm certainly not.
Brett, thanks for the call.
All right, well, listen, I had one other point.
All right, go ahead. Make your point.
Okay, it'll be quick. And for once, I'll hang up on you guys.
Click.
You guys were talking about, the guy who supposedly, as you would say, murdered, raped, and buried alive. However it happened, I'm not sure of all the details.
Yeah, it's pretty horrific.
If he did it, a heart attack. My dad died of a heart attack. I'm sure it wasn't great. But. Look, man, people die, whether they're put to death or not, and that poor girl didn't deserve to die when she died. And, he had accomplices, I do know that. So if he didn't do it, if they didn't do it, I'll trust the DNA and stuff. But, it seems to me like you guys really, with your ideas of, well, you don't really know what happened. It's a narrative that the press puts out, or it's what somebody with a badge told you happened. I mean, if one of you guys were murdered and, would the other two of you step up and say, wait a minute, release this guy? I don't believe what you're saying. You've got the wrong
I'm not
person.
talking about releasing anybody. All I'm saying is that somebody, getting a trial, that a trial is an imperfect way of adjudicating guilt, and that we should give life sentences to people. If you really want to punish murderers extra, then throw them in a higher level of security or something like that. There's certainly better and worse prisons in the world. All I'm saying, life imprisonment is not a fun thing. I've seen it.
But I mean, how many prisons can we build?
Well, we got plenty.
We have, but they're full. And
I'll tell you what.
And we're having to build more and more.
I'll trade you all the executed people for the last 4 decades for, I don't know, what is there, a couple of hundred of them, for the people that are in for possession of marijuana and selling marijuana in federal and state prisons. How's that?
No problem, but I really believe
I've just solved our space problem.
No. I think Dennis Miller said it best. Every single child molester should be released from prison and forced to live in an ACLU lawyer's neighborhood. Okay, I would love, if you guys like these people so much, man, I hope that if they're released, they come live in your neighborhood.
Well, Mark,
how you like it.
Tell Brett what you said during the break about, like, people always say, what if it was your wife who was getting raped, or what if it was your family member who got killed?
What if it's, what if you're the innocent person that gets put in jail? That's what my concern is my concern isn't for guilty people. It really isn't. The fact is when you look at recidivism rates, it's rather high. So yeah, people that, the child molester types, they're liable to do it again. I'm not claiming that they're not. All I'm saying is life in prison is a less costly, more moral choice than the death penalty. That's the only claim I've made this evening.
Well, if somebody raped me, you remember the guy who did America's Most Wanted?
Yeah.
The piece of filth that murdered and raped his son. I mean, it was horrible what happened to this poor kid. That guy was allowed until the day he died to lay around in prison, probably masturbate, thinking about all the other people he did. I don't think that's right. I don't think this pervert has any reason to breathe anymore.
Prison isn't great. I've been there. It's not a pleasant place. It's a really unpleasant place. And yeah, I mean, they're going to play cards and do a variety of things, but they're really uncomfortable.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Sex, drugs,
prison,
rock and roll. Life for a molester in prison isn't great. 855-450-FREE.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to begin? Do you fear your job is in jeopardy, or is your business income reduction keeping you awake at night? We're in the best time in 25 years to make a fortune in real estate without using your money or credit. My name is Ron LeGrand, and I've taught 500,000 people to do just that and personally bought hundreds of houses myself. If you'll call 800-970-6156, 24 hours, and leave your information, I'll send the first 500 callers my hot new CD, Foreclosure Fortunes, and my best-selling book to help you get started absolutely free. I'll show you how to build a six-figure income part-time with no previous experience and no license, even if you're a busy professional. Call 800-970-6156, 24 hours, and get my new book and CD free. That's 800-970-6156. Take your life back and make this your best year ever. Call 800-970-6156 now.
On the average, Americans work between 45 to 50 years, hoping to build up enough wealth to retire and live out their golden years. Unfortunately, with taxation, the rising cost of food, energy, housing, and medical, many retirees are forced to live below the poverty line. Is this a flaw of free enterprise, or is our monetary unit we call the Federal Reserve Note forcing us into perpetual debt, ensuring inflation and higher taxes? These questions and more can be answered by reading G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Congressman Ron Paul states it's what every American needs to know about central bank power. A gripping adventure into the secret world of international banking cartel. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I will give a silver dollar from the early 1900s to anyone who purchases this book. Call 1-800-686-2237 and order a copy today. It's critical that the public be made aware of the system. Call and order your copy today at 1-800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
Immigrating to the Shire was easy. I was instantly plugged into a community of individuals who also care about peace, liberty, and justice, and are willing to do something about it.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com. MineThings.com is a fun online game that pits you against people around the world to mine for scarce resources. Do business in a capitalist economy with virtually mined gold, tax-free. It doesn't require a big time commitment. Your little mining robot guy works whether you're logged in or not. It costs nothing to play, but you can buy bonuses. They even accept bitcoins. Go to MineThings.com, use coupon code FTL, and double your mining speed. It's free. MineThings.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can call in and talk about whatever is on your mind here on the live Sunday edition of Free Talk Live with Mark.
And Brian.
And Stephanie.
855-450-3733. If you've been listening to Free Talk Live for any length of time, you probably heard the Shiny Badges jingle. But go to shinybadges.com and check out the new Causes tab. Every item includes a donation to a worthy liberty project. So they've got the new Silk Road pin, which donates to the Ross Ulbricht Legal Defense Fund, or the Bitcoin Not Bombs hoodie. And Bitcoin Not Bombs hoodie, they'll donate to the Bitcoin Not Bombs Hoodie the Homeless campaign in 2014. There's the Cop Block badge that supports Cop Block, and a variety of other causes there. So go to shinybadges.com, click the Causes tab, and get yourself some quality liberty products that not only start a conversation with your neighbors, but supports the causes that you believe in. Plus, get a free gift when you pay with Bitcoin. It's a nice gift, too. So shinybadges.com. Brian, we were talking about this situation where apparently the Oklahoma Supreme Court reversed itself in a day. I mean, it's amazing. You hear about Supreme Courts reversing themselves, but in the course of what, 48 hours? How long was it?
Yeah, it was about 2 days. So it happened very, very quickly after some pressure from Governor May Phelan of Oklahoma. Exactly why the court would reverse its own decision 2 days later was not immediately clear. Some speculated that the justices determined the case should ultimately be decided by the Criminal Court of Appeals, which rejected hearing the case multiple times. Law enforcement officials throughout the U.S. have declared that keeping information regarding execution chemicals under wraps is essential to protect the pharmacies that supply the drugs. The issue has become increasingly contentious over the past year as European drug makers have stopped supplying drugs known to be used in lethal injections on principle, and American pharmacists who have admitted to filling the role have drawn the ire of protesters and led to boycotts. So just the last paragraph here. The court's decision Monday said the suspension would be placed until final determination of all issues presently pending before the court, along with all issues that may be brought by the Corrections Department, and any legal challenges that may arise as a result of this court's resolution of those issues are actively litigated.
I'm stunned at the idea that the Oklahoma Supreme Court reversed itself, and I don't believe for a second it has anything to do with anything legal. It sounds to me like somebody was threatened.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy, and then these justices are trying to get everybody else. There's this real political battle going on here because it sounds like they got pressured to reverse their decision by the what would it be, the executive body in this case with the governor. But then you have the legislative body that's now trying to oust them because they fell prey to the what seems to be from the governor. I mean, this is like this ugly, weird, twisted politicking. I don't even I've really never read anything quite like it. Not even to mention the fact that there's lives on the line.
The New Hampshire was one senator's vote away from overturning the death penalty in this state. Now, it hasn't been used since 1930, whatever. So it's effectively not in use. But I think there's 2 people on death row in New Hampshire.
There was at least one that I knew of. Yeah.
Which, of course, costs extra money. They'll probably never be executed, but they have to be housed in this, added security and all this other stuff where they are living and going crazy in a little 8x12 room or whatever it is. And it just costs so much more to house them that way than it does to throw them in regular population. So I'm not saying that prison is torture, but it ain't a walk in the park either.
Sure. Just real quick, it's amazing when Sweden is closing down prisons. They closed 4 just in the past few months, and they're going to be closing down more. What are they doing that's making less convicts or whatever?
I think it's the drug war, honestly. I think that's what it all comes down to in this country, frankly. That's my opinion. If they just stopped the drug war, there'd be far less conflict, and you would see far fewer people in prison. That's my opinion, and we could flesh it out if people want to call in about it. At 855-450-3733, let's talk to Jeff calling in from Chicago. Listen to 1410 AM. Jeff, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hi, you guys. I was going to ask you about Bitcoins. I've got some different questions.
Stephanie is one of the voices of Let's Talk Bitcoin.
That's right. Yep.
So we've got some excerpts for you.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
Okay, so if someone accepts Bitcoin for something, my first question is, as far as an exit strategy, if you wanted to sell the coins, do they, is somebody going to present you with tax forms or something, or what about that?
Yeah, so the IRS just issued a decision or so-called guidance about this less than a month ago, I think, right before tax season went into effect. And they're, treated like property, so you're supposed to pay capital gains on them. If you have a friend who perhaps wants to buy your Bitcoins, you could do a cash transaction, and that might be pretty hard for them to track. I think there are lots of unreported barter transactions that happen all the time. Not telling you to do anything illegal, of course, but that is something that happens quite often. I don't know of any Bitcoin exchanges. Like, for instance, there's one Coinbase where you can link your bank account to it, and then you can get the Bitcoins. You can buy Bitcoins directly from direct debit from your bank account, or sell them and get the payment deposited into your bank account. They, as far as I know, have not been sending out tax forms yet, but that might be something they would do. And if the government says they have to, I'm sure they would.
But the difficulty is, what was it worth when you bought it? So if, for instance, you could have purchased, I purchased Bitcoins. I got them in payment while they were worth $1. I bought some while they were worth 10 and more and less and all throughout. Their Bitcoins have been worth as high as $1,150, and you could have probably even paid more than that if you really tried hard. So
if you sell them at $450, which they are now,
if I sell them at $450, am I making $449,
or are you losing $600?
Am I losing $800? Right. So it's impossible for the federal government to really know what you paid for your Bitcoins.
Well, you're supposed to use this accounting method called FIFO, which is first in, first out. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax expert or anything like that. But from what I understand, they expect you to use this method where the first Bitcoins you got is the first Bitcoin that you sold. So that's how you do it.
As I understand it, so you go to cashintocoins.com and you purchase your Bitcoins. If you're purchasing a quantity, as I understand it, under $2,500 or something like that, there's no government paperwork that goes on. Now, they're licensed money transmitters in the United States, so it's legal, completely legal, but there's no real record of what you purchased, so they wouldn't know. Now, if you want to go ahead and tell the government how much you bought your Bitcoins for and tell them how much you sold your Bitcoins for, maybe that's of a tax advantage for you, in which case I would recommend it. But if it is, if you want to do it and it's a tax disadvantage for you, well, that's your business. If you want to give the federal government money, people do it all the time. Jeff?
You said $2,500. Is that per transaction, or is that
per transaction? You could potentially make one of those transactions every day.
I see. Okay. Do you guys have like a website or something? Or I don't know if you want to give an email, but where I can find out more about this or contact you guys more?
Cashintocoins.com will likely be able to answer all your questions. I'll tell you all about them here in the next segment. Thanks so much for the call, Jeff. 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live.
Do you owe the IRS money that you can't pay? Are tax liens and levies ruining your life? Are you tired of being afraid just to go to the mailbox? If this describes you, then Dan Pilla can help.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla, and I've been solving tax problems for more than 30 years. In fact, I wrote the book that made it possible to negotiate settlements with the IRS, and I've helped thousands of people do exactly that. Call now at 800-346-6829 to learn how I can help you. You know your IRS debt will not go away by itself, but you don't have to live in fear anymore. New changes to IRS policies will help more people than ever before eliminate their debts once and for all. There's no need for you to suffer another day with IRS debt. Call 800-346-6829. I can help you eliminate wage and bank levies, release tax liens, and negotiate a settlement with the IRS that will put your tax nightmare behind you forever. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, taxhelponline.com. That's taxhelponline.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Shiny badges on your jacket. Shiny badges start a conversation with your neighbor or your doctor or your family or your school. Now there's teachers and lawyers and business executives, and they all wear shiny badges and they all reject the state. Shiny badges on your jacket. Shiny badges show the world that you reject coercion and aggression and oppression by the state. ShinyBadges.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
If you're David, a few well-chosen words can help level the playing field with Goliath. I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com. Recently, I saw a Yellow Pages ad for an appliance repair company, and the headline read, "Why wait for Sears?" If you're going to the Yellow Pages, the Dead Sea Scrolls of advertising, you're ready to buy right now. So this is an attention-grabbing message. And how about the plumber whose radio ad says, "Call by noon Thursday, and we'll be there Saturday at no extra cost"? Smart guy. Most plumbing firms give their crew the weekend off. This one gives them Sunday and Monday off. In the words of a respected advertising executive, cut to the chase, make it quick, and tell me exactly what you can do for me, especially if you're looking for work. For more tips on critical communication skills for the way things are now, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can call in and talk about whatever's on your mind. here in the live Sunday edition of Free Talk Live with Mark.
And Brian.
And Stephanie.
855-450-3733. I promised in the last segment I would tell folks about cashintocoins.com. Cashintocoins.com it's an easy way to buy Bitcoins. It's safe, fast, legal, inexpensive. Customer service is their top priority. What you can do is go to cashintocoins.com, and you can buy Bitcoins with a money order, check, wire transfer. They allow you to purchase, that system allows you to purchase Bitcoins without necessarily having to give up all your information. And that's kind of important for some folks. Cashintocoins.com. Now, they do have a tab at the top, so it's frequently asked questions and support, and there you can ask them questions that they can respond to. So if you have questions like the last caller, they'll be happy to respond to you. Customer service, like I said, is their top priority, and that's always been my experience. They're back with you very quickly at cashintocoins.com. So I recommend them. I've done lots of business with cashintocoins.com, and I'm very happy with them. I've been doing business continually over time, and things have always gone well for me. Cashintocoins.com. Let's go ahead and go to the amp lines. Matt's calling in from New Jersey. Matt, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, good evening, guys. I just wanted to ask a quick question about if we got about the, you're talking about the death penalty, and if you do away with that, and I'm not saying I support it, and you want to house people for lifetime sentences, absent the state, how are you paying for these people to be confined for life?
Well, now we're talking about something entirely different. I'm talking about, so I was talking about something that's sort of piecemeal to, solve a problem here that we currently have, which is executing innocent people, which is necessarily, what's going on today. You're asking me in a world where there isn't a monopoly privilege on the use of violence, that is a state, that there are competing governments, the people get to choose for themselves. How would they, handle the housing of prisoners generally, or prisoners specifically who are convicted of murder?
Just generally speaking, who's footing the bill to keep, say, a murderer, and they have to be confined if they're criminally insane or whatever you want to call it. Like, we just can't let these people out. How are you paying to keep these people confined?
Perhaps insurance companies might play a role or something like that. Personally, I think there's too much prison. There's too much incarceration in the society we have today. And a lot of people are incarcerated for totally nonviolent crimes. There's not really a reason that they need to be there. They're not a threat to anyone else. They've just been possessing some chemical or something like that. And if we, didn't focus on keeping them in cages, maybe that would help with the whole situation, and we could find a manageable way to, get the really dangerous people away from people who need to be kept safe.
Would you say that, say 5% of the prison population would probably still be present in the absence of the drug war and victimless crimes?
5% of them?
I'm asking Stephanie.
I get that. Sounds about right. Sure.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
It seems like a conservative guess that, maybe.
The U.S. has the most incarcerated people per capita of any country in the world. So that's an interesting statistic, right? Why is that?
But there are some people that, sadly, some people that are so broken and messed up that they probably just can't be with other folks. They're just too dangerous. And assuming they don't get shot in a world where people are free to carry around weapons to defend themselves, and that the problem isn't taken care of right off the bat, then there would have to be some way to deal with these folks. And I don't know the answer. I would assume that you're talking about, maybe people would be, like I said, I'm only talking about polycentric organizations here. I believe there would still be governments in the absence of the state. So I think those governments would find some way to separate people who are dangerous from people who aren't.
Well, while we're theorizing, I don't think the death penalty has not dissuaded people from killing or from doing.
You can look at states that have it and states that don't.
But people still kill.
Yeah.
Okay, so the death penalty, by and large, is a failure. I think prisons are equally. I think statistically, it can be shown that prisons don't really work, and so I think it's more important to maybe think of.
It depends what the goal is.
Yeah, right.
If
and
the
so
goal is to punish, they work. If the goal is to stop people from committing crimes, they don't work.
Exactly. Great point. Exactly. You said it well. So I think if we got into like some degree of maybe having these people engage in some form of restorative justice instead of just punishment, then maybe what they do, how they're, within the restorative justice that they're serving, as in restoring the victim, however that gets done, they could pay for their own existence.
Yeah, if they're working while they're in prison, by the way, people do this. So they, they work, they make money, and then they can pay for some level of housing. I don't know how much it would cost, but I mean, it's difficult to sort of quantify what it costs to keep a prisoner. But I think that they could pay their own way.
And
Matt?
if they're crazy,
right, and I get that. I get that some people, but there are some people like not even to cure them, or even like when you kill someone and you're, how do you restore? And if you're a Jeffrey Dahmer, so you're a sociopath, you can't let them out. So there has to be some way to confine them, at least in my opinion.
Well, I think there has to be some way to confine them, but we're talking about ways to pay for this confinement, because I think that confinement will exist. The question is, how does one pay for it? And it may be that people, maybe the people who contribute to a fund, maybe that insurance companies think that this is something that's necessary.
I was going to say, there used to be like private mental hospitals, basically, before the state got involved in it. Maybe charity would play a role, or a combination of all those approaches.
And I'm sure that what goes on in these private prisons that exist in the this magic world where the state doesn't exist are going to be horrifying. So there you go. I mean, I don't know the specifics. Thanks so much, Matt. Appreciate the call.
There's another element, perhaps. I mean, why are there a lot of people out there who have incredibly, who are broken, who have incredible trauma in their past or whatever, and have experienced really terrible lives? That's a question that's worth exploring too. I'm not sure I have an easy answer for that, but there are a lot of people who, perhaps have children when they're not ready for them. They don't have the ability to take care of them. And, there's a lot of...
You're wondering, like, maybe childhood trauma is contributing to these people being...
I think there's a strong...
Yeah, sure.
There's strong evidence that childhood trauma contributes to people's violent behavior.
Absolutely.
I think that there's some strong evidence for that. Let's go to Chris calling in from South Carolina. Chris, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
No, not much. Just to touch on what the guy was just talking about there. I mean, how many Jeffrey Dahmers do you think's in this nation anyway?
Apparently, maybe one at a time.
I mean, a couple hundred. I mean, there's not going to be many.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's many. I've said this before.
Dahmer murders.
Right. I think most murders that occur are absolute crimes of passion. They're a one-off, and they would never, ever happen again.
The evidence is that murderers rarely recommit.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a book out there that we've talked about before on the show. It's called like, oh gosh, what is it called? I forget what it's called, but it alleges that basically 4% of the population are sociopaths. Oh, The Sociopath Next Door. That's what it's called. And it alleged that basically 1 out of 25 people is a sociopath who has no empathy for other people.
Yeah, but most
has
of them
no
don't
conscience.
go to prison. They go to Washington D.C.
Well, exactly. Most of these, if there are sociopaths out there, and if the percentage is as high as this author claims, most of them are not committing violent crimes. They're not going around killing people. So that's kind of interesting, right?
I always ask people to look at the Amish. The Amish are a society that are really the only anarchist society we can look at that governs themselves. And, I mean, you don't see any Jeffrey Dahmers coming out of there. I mean, of 200 years of the Amish, they've had one murder.
Nope, just a lot of genetic diseases. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Chris, thanks for the call.
And ironically, they're asking for forgiveness of killers, too.
It's Peace Church, that's for sure. 855-450-3733. We might be able to squeeze in your call. We'll see. Free Talk Live.
Angioprim can unclog blocked arteries and improve blood flow in all parts of your body. Angioprim is oral chelation. Easy, simple, liquid oral chelation. You take it with juice before breakfast and forget about it. Angioprim works fast, unlike old-fashioned chelation that takes hours. Just log on to angioprim.com. That's Angioprim, ANGIOPRIM, angioprim.com. Angioprim users say they have more energy, more strength, more endurance. Increased circulation and blood flow will make all your body parts work better. Log on to angioprim.com to get more information on how you can get started and start feeling better, having fun, and doing more again. Lots more. Talk to a trained Angioprim consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221. Or log on for complete information. Angioprim.com. That's angioprim.com. Find out how Angioprim can work for you. Get the facts about Angioprim at angioprim.com.
I'm a very bad man. And today I watched you leave for work. Then I kicked your door and took your stuff. Without a door devil reinforcing your door frame, it was like you invited me. Don't worry, I'll check back in a couple weeks. Once you've got new stuff.
Door Devils are available at participating Ace Hardware stores and locksmiths. Or visit doordevil.com.
If you own a business, you need customers, right? Well, your potential customers are listening to this radio program right now, and I can help you reach them. Hi, I'm Matt Brower, a national marketing executive at the radio network responsible for this program. I can help you customize a national radio campaign that fits your budget, large or small, while targeting your specific audience. Contact me to learn how radio advertising can make your business more profitable. mbrower@gcnlive.com. That's mbrower@gcnlive.com.
Free Talk Live.
I'm a supporter of law enforcement, and my boyfriend's a police officer.
What if there was a law passed that made cigarettes illegal? Would you also support your boyfriend going and raiding people's homes and businesses because they had some black market cigarettes?
Enforce laws if people are smoking cigarettes and they're not supposed to be?
Yeah.
Would he enforce them?
Yes.
Yes, he would.
Right, that's the problem. It's his job.
Can I go to a more extreme example then, Lindsay? What if it was like Nazi Germany in 1939 and Jews were illegal? Would your boyfriend go around and grab them and throw them into concentration camps because it was the law?
If it was his job, he would do it.
God.
Wow.
I'm not saying it's not a personal issue. If it's his job,
personal.
Doing something wrong is doing something wrong, whether you've got the law on your side or not, ma'am.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
Stop harming your body with coffee from grocery stores or most chains. Start making a difference, 1 cup at a time. We've partnered with Camano Island Coffee Roasters to offer you a free pound of BuzzBox coffee. It's organic, so no harmful pesticides or toxins. Shade-grown, meaning less acidity and no heartburn. Try the best of the best for free. Just cover shipping. 10% of future purchases go toward helping us give the gift of human freedom around the globe with at least 100 microloans via World Vision. Go to coffee.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live. The live Sunday edition of Free Talk Live with Mark.
And Brian.
And Stephanie.
Go check us out the AMP page. If you like what we do here on Free Talk Live, you like the fact that we are really, one of the very few voices for liberty on the airwaves out there. That you like the idea that we can reach 140, almost 150 stations. We're getting really close. 150 stations with the message of liberty, and you want to see us spread that farther and wider. Go to the AMP page, and you can have your AMP contribution doubled. for a limited time. So it's amp.freetalklive.com. Let's go to Andy calling in from New York, listening on WUAB. Andy, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hey, it's WAUB.
AUB,
Auburn.
sorry about that. Auburn, yes. I don't have a list of them right here in front of me. I wish I did.
Hey, I'm glad your show exists, even though I disagree with you guys on many things, but I'm going to try to find common ground here.
All right, some common ground.
Property taxes. I mean, I disagree with you that all taxes are armed robbery, but property taxes seem to completely eliminate the reality of property ownership. You don't own your property. You're renting it from the government, and as soon as you can't pay your rent, you get kicked off your land.
You're absolutely right, I think.
They're evolved from quit rents, which were when lords demanded a certain amount from vassals and serfs for the the occupation of land that the lord owned. And so you're absolutely right. The fact is the state owns your land, and what we call ownership is renting from the state.
Yeah, and there's countries, in fact, that don't have property taxes. They have plenty of other taxes, but they don't have property taxes, and their economy is a booming one.
And by the way, Andy, I do not believe that all taxes are armed robbery. I believe that it is just that the government that grants corporate state personhood to people can tax corporations. If you create something, you can tax it. So I believe that since the government creates corporations, fine, they should be able to tax corporations. But they didn't create me. They don't own me. So therefore, they can't tax me. That's what I think.
Well, I mean, you often extend the idea of well, if you don't pay your taxes, they're going to come with guns and lock you up or kill you.
And they will.
It's sort of a. I mean, it's a little bit extreme extension, and it may make sense. I mean, you can also say anybody who buys anything from China is running a sweatshop and abusing workers, and by extension, it's true. But we might be hyperextending it a little bit. I think.
How about if we
property
say they'll
taxes
take your house? Does that? I mean,
that's pretty obvious. And if you don't want to leave your house,
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's what property tax. Now, property taxes. Now, with income tax, if you want to talk about that, there's like 70 taxes that the average person is confronted with. But, or that's not the average person. There's like 70 taxes. I saw a list of that the federal government enacts. But property taxes, if you don't pay your property tax, every single time you're going to come face to face with a government bureaucrat that is going to take your home. However, with income tax, rarely, there's been articles written on this, rarely are you going to see problems from not paying income tax. It happens, but many people don't pay income tax and never hear from the government at all.
Isn't it more likely you're going to get audited if you file than if you don't even?
You're much more likely to have trouble with the federal government,
That's so
the
ironic.
IRS, if you file their paperwork than if you refuse to.
Yeah.
So
I've heard
in my opinion, there should be a minimum amount of property you can own without having to pay it, just for your own, just for a residence. I mean, if you're running a giant farm or if you have a second home on the lakes or something, then go ahead and take it if I can't pay taxes on it. But if you're going to take my home, that's where I draw the line. And I don't know if there are hardship cases where the government will let you keep your home. I don't know if that exists.
Sometimes for elderly people or disabled people, they will give them a break, but I don't know that there's anyone who doesn't pay any taxes at all.
In Florida, there's a homestead exemption. Now, it's a small one. It was created back before home prices rose, but it was $25,000. Was like your first $25,000 was exempt, and then your property taxes can only go up a certain amount every year. That's what the homestead exemption is. So, yes, if you lived in like a trailer in rural Florida, you would be exempt from paying property taxes, in that state. So there's a minimum there.
Well, this is something I'm amazed there's not an uprising about people getting kicked out of their homes because they can't afford property taxes.
Usually
if
it's
you own your land, you should have your land, you know?
Usually it's mortgages that are the issue because most people, I don't know what the number is.
Most people have mortgages, and the property taxes are included in the mortgage. So you can't really not pay them unless you own the home outright, but that's not a common
hidden
situation.
slavery.
There aren't a whole bunch of people out there that are getting kicked out of their homes for simply refusing to pay property taxes. And what they tend to do is sell the property to somebody else who will, sign on and taking it. There's places like a friend of mine lives in Connecticut, and he pays something like $25,000 a year in property taxes.
Wow.
Right,
You could, after like 10 years, you're buying another house. You're buying your house over again.
It's incredible.
Depending on how much
I
it
had
is.
house payments that were lower than this.
Yeah.
But that's what he paid, and it's incredible. And
the other day, this reminds me, I saw an interesting article. It was a Gallup poll where they asked people if they wanted to live in the place where they lived, and Connecticut specifically, and I think Illinois was the other one, where 50% of the people who live there said that they would leave the state and move somewhere else if they could.
Yeah.
But then they asked people, how likely are you to move in the next year? And only 20% of people said that they were somewhat definitely or likely to move in the next year. So people want to leave, but they don't for some reason.
They're trapped in their paradigms.
I suppose, yeah.
Andy, I really appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Got to go in and get other calls here. Let's go to Nathan calling in on Skype. Nathan, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Good evening, guys. When you were talking about Werner von Braun, I went to look at his Wikipedia page, and about that, earlier caller mentioned slave labor. There was actually an anecdote about von Braun being in some kind of slave camp and wanting to, protest or say something, but a guard sort of told him to shut up and be quiet, and it had a quote that. I believe 100% that if Werner von Braun had opened his mouth again, he would have been shot on the spot. So I wanted to kind of get Brian's perspective, because the Wikipedia article doesn't have anything. It doesn't really have anything negative. It just just has innuendo, really.
Yeah, this is something. This is a big problem, because a lot of when you read about Operation Paperclip, which is part of what brought a lot of these German scientists over, including von Braun, a lot of records were pretty much destroyed, and yet whitewashed. Yeah, you do have confessions essentially from Nuremberg that illuminate to some degree. Now you can say that these were forced, or maybe these aren't true. That they. That anybody in the SS or in von Braun in particular, did some pretty nasty things. So it's a touch and go, but I don't know. I don't see where he was the good guy.
So what evidence personally convinced you that he was responsible for crimes?
Some of these confessions, and also the fact that he really, I think when such atrocities are occurring as they were during the Holocaust, to not say anything and to not put your life on the, I don't know. I question those ethics.
Right,
Nathan, I can't. We got to go on to the next call. Thanks so much for the call. Let's go to Liberty Phoenix. Liberty Phoenix, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hey guys, I was just wanted to respond to the caller earlier that was mentioning that asked, how do you end the prison systems? How do you make them irrelevant? I think the only real way to make prisons irrelevant and vis-a-vis